The following program does not have a normal intro because I was really too busy smoothing other things over to get it done. So, Ori? Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Viewers Discretion. I'm your host, Joe Neerman, aka Good Lawgic. Hope that your weekend has gone phenomenally well, exceptionally well, and that you're just chilling in, getting ready for a brand new week of more fun and frivolity, or probably for most of y'all work because you're Republicans. So that being the case, it's my pleasure, privilege to be dedicated towards providing some fair bit of news at the same time, sharing with you a little levity, same time, because there's no law that one is necessarily a one is, why am I drawing my vocabulary is just vanishing from my head. I feel like I just had I don't even have the word. Yeah, that one necessarily is an exception to the other. That's not at all the word I was looking for, but we're going to go with that for now. So, with that being said, I want to jump right on in. I saw there was one question here out of the gate. One question out of the gate that Cars in Depth wants me to jump on here. Could you discuss 18 U.S.C. 241 deprivation of rights as relates to Hamas holes obstructing pro-Israel events by Jews on campus? I'll tell you right now, it's an interesting claim. 18 U.S.C. 241 is conspiracy against rights. If you want to take a quick look at what conspiracy against rights is, I'll just give you a quick overview of that. It is right over here. 18 U.S.C. 2.1, if two more persons conspire to injure, oppress, threaten, or intimidate any person, any state, territory, commonwealth, possession, blah, 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 in the free exercise or enjoyment of any right or privilege secured to him by the Constitution or laws of the United States, or because of his having so exercised same, or if two more persons go in disguise on a highway or on the premise of another with intent to provide or hinder his free exercise or enjoyment of any right or privilege so secured, they shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years, or both. And if death results from the acts committed in violation of this section, or if such acts include kidnapping or attempt to kidnap, aggravated sexual abuse, or attempt to kidnap, or attempt to kill, they shall be fined under this title or imprisoned for any term of years or for life, or both, or may be sentenced to death. It's pretty serious charge there. Just standing on his face, not going to kid you. The only problem you have with this is go find a prosecutor who's willing to prosecute it. So theoretically, could this happen in some circumstances? I'm not personally aware of cases where I'd say, aha, that's a moment where that happened. However, I wouldn't be surprised if it does. Then you got to go find a prosecutor who's willing to go forward with it. Good luck. Sadly, it seems unlikely that you will see such an occurrence unless and until things get even scarier than they are now, where people start getting actually physically assaulted and and I know that there are some incidents. I'm talking about serious, we see if we see when there are bodies in the streets, that's when people I think will start to act. Sadly, because that's what it takes sometimes. I'm not wishing that for sure. Definitely not. That'd be a disaster. I'm simply saying our district attorneys are a bunch of woke cocks by and large. So what do you want? What do you want? Could they be charged? 100%. Yeah, definitely. Clearly, that statute has nothing to do with a need for there to be any sort of violence, any sort of injury to any of the victims of that crime. You just need a prosecutor. And go find one. If you know one, you can prevail upon him. At least if they're in a jurisdiction where such an event were to occur. Debbie says, have you been reading about the poison pills in the minibus that provided for impeachment if Ukraine funding is stopped? I have not seen that. The poison pills in the minibus. The omnibus? The minibus. The minibus? That provide for impeachment if Ukraine funding is stopped. I have not seen anything about that. This is the first time learning of that. So, no. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I'm just saying I personally have not heard of it. So, I'll try to remember to check that out because it sounds interesting. I'm curious about that. That's if there's not additional funding. I can understand if there's a failure to turn over stuff that was already agreed to by Congress. But if there's not additional funding, that would be weird. I'm not saying it's impossible, just saying it would be weird. Anyhow, I want to jump on in here. A lot of you may not be aware that last week, Jordan Peterson was hailed before Congress, or a subcommittee thereof, to testify about AI and its potential impact on American society in order to help Congress figure out what types of laws, rules, etc. they should potentially pass in order to protect American citizens from the development of AI. And we had a certain exchange there at the very end, the very tail end. Jordan Peterson was a guest there, and there's a certain exchange there which we should probably check out. And that's what we're going to start with. Let's start there. It begins with this man whose face makes me angry. I'm not going to kid you. His face makes me angry. I hate Dan Goldman.
Sitting in Gaza right now.
This is what this guy says. Listen to this guy. So angry, so angry, so angry, so angry.
Are actual American hostages sitting in Gaza right now under captivity of a terrorist organization. And we're supposed to equate the people sitting in jail who rioted and attacked this Capitol. We're supposed to equate them with these hostages. Mr. Chairman, you continually say.
I'm just going to point this out here, Mr. Goldman. I'm going to point this out to you. I'm going to point this out to you. A, it's pretty stupid to say that hostages equals hostages. Any hostage in situation A necessarily is the same as a hostage in situation B. I saw how you sort of laced in here that the Americans who were involved in the siege on the Capitol being referred to in prison cells as hostages. That you're trying to imply that there's some high level guilt there. But at the end of the day, many of the people who are facing charges did not engage in any real violence. There's not very much sympathy that people on the right try to gin up for the fools who were attended on January 6th who actually got violent. That's not the issue. The issue as to why it may be comparable to any hostages anywhere in the world is that the overextended, ridiculously extended sentences that were applied to people who were traipsing through the Capitol on January 6th as relatively indifferent, indistinguishable from tourists, being struck with sentences of 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and or more, without raising an arm, raising a fist against anyone, without bringing any sort of violent materials to the event, and that for the egregious crime of walking through the Capitol, the people's house, walking through that on January 6th, that they're getting these extended prison sentences, which are far beyond what anyone would have thought was like a reasonable amount of period of time. Anyone who wasn't completely politically motivated. But if you would have said such a thing happening 10 years ago, this is the type of sentence someone will get for coming through the Capitol on January 6th, when we see it happen every 4 years on January 6th, that a bunch of folks go through the Capitol, a bunch of folks come in there and start complaining that they're not happy with the election, and none of them has ever gotten any sentence until that day. But now these folks who get sentenced, if you want to tell me that, hey, some of them maybe they're entitled, maybe you want to hit them with 6 months, to me, I would say that's wrong. That's wrong. You shouldn't do it. But when you give them 3 years, 4 years, grossly, egregiously awful, unfair, intolerable, arbitrary, and capricious sentences based on how ridiculously sick the judge who's sentencing them is, how ridiculously twisted in the mind that sentencing judge is, that they're going to be susceptible to whatever whims are going to be applied by these judges. That is arbitrary and capricious, and they are hostages. No different from anybody in any hostage situation, whether that's in a bank robbery or they're in the Middle East, they're in a Hamas tunnel, or wherever it is. And I'll tell you something, in certain ways, it's worse because it's being carried out by our own government, by their own government, by people who are supposed to be looking out, protecting them, and rather than protecting them, they're prosecuting them and trying to punish them in ways that are so far beyond the metes and bounds of what is fair, reasonable, tolerable, expected, or something that anyone would think is not thoroughly 1000% politically motivated. And that is a hostage situation, which is in certain ways far, far more egregious because of who the perpetrators are, specifically being the American government doing to its own people. So yes, that is a hostage situation. There's nothing gross about it. There's nothing disturbing about it. And I'll tell you why. Because everyone would expect that a terrorist group like Hamas, as disgusting and awful and disease-ridden as their minds are, and as heartless and as cruel as they are, you kind of expect, hey, you know what? That's what psychopaths do. Psychopaths take hostages, and they torture, and they basically ignore civil rights. But you're the freaking American government. You're standing up here as, oh, we are the bastion of virtue here, while you're completely trampling on people's basic civil liberties, all because you deem them to be your political enemies. So no, in certain ways, it is far more egregious, Dan Goldman, and you are one of the people who are helping purvey it more than anybody. Just want to get that off my chest. He needs the more flair. Yeah, well. I made a poll as to which situation was going to get me, which of the three topics I'm covering tonight between Congress, TYT, and AOC was going to get me angriest. I was like, I have a feeling it's going to be Congress. Dan Goldman gets one sentence out, and I'm like, no, you go to hell. Thank you. You're too kind, Jenny. You're awesome. Thank you kindly. Let's hear what else is on Dan Goldman's mind.
That it used to be that both parties agreed with the First Amendment. It didn't used to be. It is. It remains the case.
No.
We all agree with the First Amendment.
No, you don't.
The problem is
you don't.
That the First Amendment is not absolute.
That's true.
It does not protect any single thing anyone says. And there are limits. And
it doesn't if it's actually the things that they're saying are breaking a law. But if just because stuff you don't like, that doesn't mean that you have a right to police it, even if you deem it to be misinformation or disinformation. You don't have a right to police that, because woe unto any nation which decides that they are going to be the arbiter as to what is misinformation or disinformation.
And that's important. And what this committee has been trying to do for the last year and a half is to chill the federal government from monitoring what is going on social media and otherwise out there, so that misinformation and disinformation can run rampant.
See, you don't believe in free speech. If it can, yes, it has to be able to run rampant. It has to. It has to. Because necessarily, free speech means you're going to have Party A disagreeing with Party B. And invariably, throughout the history of the annals of time, when you have two people who clash on their ideas, one of them is under the firm belief that the other one is spreading either misinformation or disinformation. That is by necessity how free speech works. But you stupid schmuck, you're pretending that you don't understand that, or you actually don't. Either way, you are not fit for Congress.
In on Elon Musk's social platform and every other social platform, so that the Republicans, can benefit from it in November's election. That is.
Oh, please. Oh, just stop it. Stop it. As far as so that they can benefit from in November's election. As if we didn't see all the misinformation and disinformation that the DNC engaged in 2020, hiding the laptop, having their own FBI come out there with 51 experts saying, in our opinion, this laptop is actually Russian disinformation. We are wise to you. We have seen how you use the term disinformation specifically for the purpose of spreading disinformation. So go to hell. No, you have zero business being any arbiter as to what is accurate information or not, because you are hoping, and in fact, you are specifically geared towards spreading disinformation and misinformation. Schmuck.
That is why this committee exists.
The time of the gentleman.
And we have gotten no evidence to support any of these allegations.
And the ones that serve in this very chamber, they're not even hiding it anymore. They're saying the quiet part out loud. They want dependency, they want control. And the total disregard for the Constitution.
That's what he wants.
And the oath that many of my colleagues, actually all of my colleagues, have taken and violated. It's so disturbing to me. Many people know, probably as evidenced by what is on the face of my iPad, that I detest big government and I detest big tech. The two combined have proven to be a lethal combination when it comes to liberty and freedom. Because quite frankly, we know that the MO of big tech and big financial institutions combined with big government.
This woman is relatively new to Congress. I forget her name. Maybe one of you remembers. I forget her name, but she's actually pretty good. She's pretty good. Do any of you remember her? You know her name?
It's to erode and evade Americans' constitutional rights. And we're here today because of a blatant Fourth Amendment violation, where big banks colluded with big government to turn over data that didn't belong to them to target Americans, innocent Americans. Because in this country, it is still a fact that you are innocent until proven guilty, despite what everyone is trying to do and flip that around.
Yeah, I do like the Gadsden flag on the back of her, her little iPad there.
Dr. Peterson, it's good to see you again. I couldn't help but notice your reaction when my colleague was talking about the First Amendment not being absolute. And so I do want to give you the opportunity to weigh in and respond to that.
Oh, that's what this was. I was so confused. Well, he probably does need more flair then. All right. Now I see what you're saying, because he had all those pins on his thing. Now, okay, thank you. Sorry.
I couldn't help but notice your reaction. But before I do, I'm really glad that you have been talking about the social credit system that the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, utilizes. I am literally around the corner in a classified briefing right now talking about the use of big tech and how it is targeting American citizens. In fact, this very morning, I have been inundated in my office with phone calls from TikTok users who have been denied access to the app because they live in my congressional district, and until they call my office and demand that I do not take adverse action against the app, that they cannot use it. Talk about big tech directing behavior. I think that we are on a very dangerous path, and I want to give you my time to really lay out in the most succinct way possible the dangerous nexus of big tech, big government, and financial institutions that seek to weaponize that information against Americans. And I know you are more than capable of doing that in 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
I don't think people understand the degree to which they are profiled online and to which their virtual representation is now an iconic representation of them, nor do they understand that they have no rights whatsoever to that representation. So for example, let's say we turn our information about our purchasing habits over to the bank when we open a bank account. 30 years ago, that wasn't such a big problem. With AI systems, it's a problem that's so big you can't imagine it. I mean, I'm certain that my staff could find the data online to absolutely predict your voting patterns with 95% accuracy. You have no idea what sort of digital footprint that you're leaving behind you. And there are almost no protections for that. And so now, and you also asked about the First Amendment.
Yes.
Well, we have very weak free speech protections in Canada. And I can tell you that is not going well. And so the combination in my country, the combination of that and the invasive technology that we're producing at a rate that beggars the imagination, produces a threat to the integrity of sovereign citizenship, the likes of which has not yet been experienced, right? And that's what this committee should be concentrating on. Like, it's very interesting to watch it because it devolves continually into discussion of a particular event, serious though that event was. It's like, no matter how serious that event was, it pales in comparison to the potential severity of the issue that we're attempting to point to with regards to our testimony.
He's talking about the truckers, the issue with the truckers and their bank accounts being seized during the trucker strike. So, and he's like, what you saw there is a joke. It's a joke compared to what we are potentially facing in the coming future with as AI begins to evolve in the context of AI, big tech using AI and working together with government.
These artificially intelligent systems can do things you can't imagine. And not only can they are and they will. And that will be abetted by the collusion between large corporations and government. And it's certainly the case that the people who stand on the left, especially with regards to their, what would you say, skepticism of large corporations, which is often perfectly warranted, should be utterly terrified about this.
Man, you did that in less time than I thought.
Here's the thing that he just touched on here, which is that merger of government with big tech. And what that made me think about, I just want to play that last 30 seconds again so you can hear it again.
And government. And not only can they are and they will. And that will be abetted by the collusion between large corporations and government. And it's certainly the case that the people who stand on the left, especially with regards to their, what would you say, skepticism of large corporations, which is often perfectly warranted, should be utterly terrified about this.
Man, you did that in less time than I thought.
Well, I had to get it right once today.
No, I appreciate that. And I think you...
I want to touch on what he said here. You know, a lot of times people ask me, you know, I've been asked a lot, like how I personally define MAGA, like what MAGA is, Make America Great Again. And I invariably refer back to the original founding fathers' values that were instilled in our Constitution and recognitions of freedom and civil liberties and things of that nature. But I want to share with you something I'm not sure if I've ever said before on this show. And that is that America in the late 18th century created a model for how to run a country that became the envy of the world because of the way it recognized certain facts that were staring humanity in the face for countless millennia, and yet never expressed quite the way it was penned in both Declaration of Independence as well as codified in our Constitution. It's not simply that they recognize that the rights of man are derived from our godliness, the fact that we are created by God and thereby have certain inalienable rights. It's not merely the promise of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. One of the most remarkable things about our country as in its fledgling state, when it was first kicking the shell off and the bird was emerging into what are we? What is this republic going to be? Was that the people who were in charge, the people who were setting the rules, the people who had thrown off the yoke of a monarchy that was oppressive, primarily financially, but in other ways as well, with respect to speech and religion, other basic civil liberties, and throwing off that yoke. And here, these are the relative kings and noblemen of America who are creating the rules. And when they created those rules, they had the wisdom and foresight to recognize their own fallibility. They had the wisdom and foresight and the temerity to actually recognize that we humans are flawed, and that includes ourselves. That is part of what MAGA is. Understanding that we are flawed humans. And because we are flawed humans, if we are given an opportunity, too much of an opportunity to exert control, we will invariably abuse our fellow man. And one of the most astonishing things that the founding fathers did time and time again was, rather than enrich themselves, rather than empower themselves, rather than grab whatever power they could, they put shackles on their own abilities to assert power and control, and said, we are not going to allow ourselves to go there, because even if we don't end up going there ourselves, in the next generation, they will. And in 2 generations, they certainly will. And throughout the balance of, and this is, we're creating here a new republic, which we want to last forever as the model of the world. We want there to be a recognition of a country that is actually designed to help its citizens actually find their own happiness, find their life, be free to run their lives, be free to have their liberties, and be free to pursue their own happiness. And the way they phrase that is pursuit of happiness, that's what they're promising. That too, that had such levels of brilliance to it, because frankly, the only way you can ever find your own happiness is if you yourself are the one who is engaged in the pursuit of your happiness, because that is part of the happiness, is that you're the one who earned it for yourself. And you're not actually going to be happy unless you're the one who does the pursuing yourself. But I want to put that part of it aside and just point out that part of the brilliance, that when I look back on the greatness of America, is that they had the foresight to say, we are not going to assert power. In fact, we are going to limit government in this way and that way and all these different ways, because we recognize that government has way too easy of a time to slip down the road to perdition, despite the best of intentions, despite whatever it is that we really want to be good people. At the end of the day, it's too easy for it to be subverted. It's too easy for it to be poisoned. It's too easy for it to become something that is actually a weapon against the people instead of for the people. And because of that, we are going to do whatever we can to restrict government while enabling it to function, but restrict it from being able to be used as a weapon against its own people. And that is what we are seeing with respect to potentially a merger between big tech and AI-fueled big tech, because whatever we've seen from big tech so far, big tech together with AI is like what we've seen from big tech on steroids. It's like if we saw, big tech so far is like basically this giant superhero or dark superhero like Ant-Man. This is like it's going to become like the friggin' Hulk, like evil Hulk with AI. It's going to become a whole next level terribleness. And if big tech is able, fueled by AI, is able to merge with government, woe unto the people. Woe unto the people, especially a government which seems over the last, year, 2 years, seems to believe that there's nothing wrong with dressing up political persecution as justice. And the idiots, like the childlike perspectives of these people who are like, yay, get Trump, and are too stupid to see 10 minutes down the road as to how this will lead to their own self-destruction. Not simply the destruction of your enemies, but your own self-destruction. That you're basically creating a doomsday machine, which invariably will swallow you up, as sure as the doomsday machine from the original Star Trek series, that it will swallow you up. I can promise you, it will swallow you up until at the end of the day, you do not recognize this country. That's what happens when you start championing and thinking that these elected officials who are engaged in political persecution under the guise of justice, when it's really just to grab more power for themselves, you are utter fools. Utter fools. It's like I feel sad for you as to how stupid you are, that you don't recognize the power that you're giving to these people, where they have such access to abilities that no man has ever had before, to twist the words of your enemies, through AI to twist messaging, to cover up all sorts of illicit activity on their own, basically blame this or blame that or pretend or use AI in countless ways that today are well beyond human imagination. And you're sitting here championing that. We should be demanding that our government has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with having any sort of levers of access over anything related to big tech or AI. You want to tell me that as far as them creating rules that are designed to limit the ways that AI can be used legally? Okay. But for them to actually have some sort of unholy marriage with big tech and AI fueled big tech. Oh my God. Oh my God. That is not a nightmare that may unfold sometime in the next 30 years. That is a nightmare which will certainly unfold in under 10 and arguably under 5. Anyway, but I'm curious about your thoughts on it. I'm curious about your thoughts. Do you think I missed anything there? Do you think I mislabeled what MAGA is? Is that how you think of MAGA? Because I think of MAGA as a return to a time when we recognize the potential dangers of government. That's a large part of what MAGA is, of an unchecked government. That's just my perspective. I'm just one person. A lot of people have different perspectives. You know, I'm not the official labeler. I'm just telling you what my perspective is on it. You ever think how dystopian it is that people are assigned the number of birth? It's step 1 in a social credit system. It's even in the name. I've thought about that. I think when it was first introduced, no one recognized the potential to be used that way. But yeah. Nope. I know what you're saying, and I'm just saying nope. The enlightenment, discovery of your own ignorance. Yeah, that is part of the enlightenment, is recognizing there's how much we don't know. We are not descendants of fearful men. The ideals of liberty still stand, and I believe that attitude is coming back. The pursuit of happiness is damaged, and people are angry about it. Yeah. It's essential if we're going to actually have like a happy society, is that people have to be able to engage in the pursuit of happiness. That's part of the reason why communism must be a fail. It's designed to keep you existing. It's designed to keep all humans existing and stripping them of any opportunity to fight for their own happiness. Stripping them. And that's why definitionally it's evil. It's in its ideal. Forget about it's in practice. Its ideal itself is one of the most is stripping you of your humanity, because part of your humanity is your ability to grow, to become start here, and during the course of your lifetime grow up here, start as an acorn and grow into an oak. That's where you find your happiness. And this is designed to basically say that no one should be an oak. No one should be an oak. So it's just, and that's what our society, that's what the left has basically become. Oh, if you're an oak, well, you didn't build that, you didn't do that, and if you grew into a mighty oak, that means you stole from people. It means you're evil. Such twisted. Oh, thank you, Mr. E. You're too kind. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. What is happening is redefined pursuit of happiness that manipulates people. MAGA is the individual defines pursuit of happiness. Of course. And even when the left tries to engage in this, how do they try to engage in it? The way they try to engage in it is they'll basically look at someone's gender expression as they're finding their own happy, which is basically like saying, oh, if we have some, demented old man who believes that, he's in Napoleon's army, that he should go marching. He should go marching into Russia with a gun. And that's what you should do. You should let him do it. Come on, that's what he wants. Let him find his happy. As opposed to recognizing that no, people got issues. So if someone's got an issue, you help them fight through that. You feel sympathy for them, but you help them fight through that. You don't enable them. But It's like everything about their perspectives is just so morbidly twisted. All right. Anyhow, speaking of leftists, that's my thoughts on that. Make sure I didn't miss anything over here in my ghetto. There's my ghetto. There's my ghetto. Yeah, I started with the fire earlier tonight. I started the fire. I don't know if I'm going to have similar fire anywhere else coming forward. Unwiseman shared with me that JD Vance thing and the poison pill that Debbie mentioned earlier. Yeah, I'm not going to get into that now. I'm not getting into JD Vance now. But thank you, Unwise Man. Sharing with me in locals. God bless you. Tickers are quiet. What's with the tickers? Maybe they're over in Discord. Who the hell can tell? Who can tell? Debbie, I see you shared with me on X something about JD Vance. I can't. I don't want to start getting into this now. I got a busy show tonight, so maybe I'll look at it later. But I appreciate you sharing with me. Screw the left, MAGA rocks as true America. Yeah, well, we got to deal with them though. We got to deal with. We have to figure out how to deal with them effectively. Actually, on Friday when I was covering on my locals, I was covering the town hall meeting that was held by Nelson Peltz. One of the things I was talking about is we can learn from the left as to how they effectively managed to slip their ways into culture by basically dressing up what they were doing in terminology that is, that sounds completely fair and reasonable to any perspective, even though it's got like a slight little twist to it. And there's no reason we can't employ similar methods to try and right this ship, correct the course that we're on in ways that are not going to be frightening to people on the left. But you got to check out that stream to see that part, because I'm not going to review that right now. All right. So there you go. That's one thing. First, next thing up, let's get into TYT. Let's talk about TYT, because TYT and don't get me wrong, okay? They're woke as hell, okay? Woke as hell. They are classic Trump derangement in ways that just are, wow, kind of funny. But I do want to get into every once in a while, Anna Kasparian seems to have an enlightened moment. And I feel like she's sort of perhaps having a positive influence on even Cenk Uygur. So I want to find a couple of those nuggets tonight and share them with you, because it's funny when they attack the left. And over the last month or so, the last few weeks, they've dropped a number of clips where they're attacking the left. And then all of a sudden, the lefty in them pops out and they don't even see it. So that's what I want to break down for you tonight. Frankie, you're too kind. Thank you so much. One of those. There's Frankie with Jordan Peterson. Nice. Love it. I appreciate that. Thank you, Brian. You're awesome. All right, so let's get into their critique of mainstream media. Look at this. I was like, I can't believe this is TYT. They're always, the Young Turks are always, the acronym TYT is the Young Turks. They're always on the left. And here it is. They're calling out the left for their ridiculous journalism standards. Well, let's do this in normal speed so that y'all can follow along.
A new unassuming CNBC article about in-office.
I'm going to give one more credit to CNBC, by the way. It's not CNBC, excuse me, to the Young Turks. And this is what I'm going to credit the Young Turks with, which it's sad that I have to credit people with this, but given the climate we're in, it's fair to give credit where credit is due. Last night, I shared 30 seconds of a clip of the UFC thing, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to totally get dinged. I'm going to totally get dinged for this. They're totally going to come after me for this. I know what's going to happen. I know they're going to ding me. I know there's going to be some stupid, empty cuck copyright claim." And sure enough, by the time I finished the stream last night, it was blocked from anyone being able to see it. So my views ended up slashed, and I had to end up cutting out stupid 20 seconds of like Trump walking out. It's like, you guys are so friggin' gay. You're such losers. You're such pathetic, stupid losers. Like, how idiotic are you? Seriously, how idiotic are you? That it's like, oh, I'm gonna knock him off, and otherwise no one's gonna watch our stupid Ultimate Fighting Championship. Oh, you're such losers. Such losers. It's like, stop worrying about who's banging your girlfriend. And just get them to stop banging her. That's what I was just like, what's wrong with you? What is wrong with you? You're terrible. You're terrible. And the one thing I'll say about TYT is I've shared many clips from them, and never once has there been a single claim that's been issued by them. And I tip my cap to them for that. I'm a very strong believer. I'm a big believer. I don't believe I don't care if my channel grows in size to being 30 million followers. I cannot envision a single scenario short of someone just flat out sniping without adding anything at all to it. I cannot envision a single scenario where I would issue a copyright claim against someone. I can't even think. It's like, why would you? They're just like promoting you. They're just promoting you. But no, calling attention to you. Anyway, so I want to tip my cap to TYT for the fact that Vice, oh my God, such losers. But TYT, never once. And I tip my cap to both Cenk and Anna for that.
Mandates is a shockingly perfect example of what we talk about here on this show often, right? A bias in journalism and a lack of media literacy, which we're trying to help with by uncovering stories like this. So you'll understand what we mean in just a moment. So for context, CNBC published this headline. Why a CEO says bosses should embrace coffee badging. Quote, I don't hire people to watch them work. So look.
That's what a CEO said. I don't hire people to watch them work. Okay. All right. So I'm not going to babysit people. Okay, that's fine. By the way, Daniel says, bend like a willow, be firm like an oak. Thank you for doing what you do, brother. Bless you and your family. Cheers. Thank you so much, Daniel. This dude, I know it shows him being a member for 3 months, but I've seen Daniel with that flag there in my chat, really going back to the old days, back to the antediluvian days, back to before Noah, before all the rain came in. Yeah, no, he'd been around a while, bro. It's good to see you. Wasn't Ruben once a young Turk? He changed? Yes, he was. He flipped on them one day, and he was just like, I don't understand what the hell we're doing here. This doesn't seem like we're selling truth. So he was once a young Turk. That's correct. If farmer animals could vote, Cenk would be president. If you don't know the lore, you should. LOL. I don't know the lore. I don't. But okay. It sounds like lore I should know. But thank you, Bob. That got me mad. Anyway, let's hear from this CEO. Says I don't hire people to watch.
Understandably, that headline caught my attention because I love that attitude. Like, that is a good boss. That is a good employer. Someone who isn't like lording over you and like breathing down your neck, right? That's good. That's like a better work environment. So it caught my attention. I click on it. So the piece is about how a lot of workplaces these days have in-office mandates with bosses who get upset if their employees don't physically show up and instead insist to work from home. But the CEO that CNBC cites, his name is Frank Weishaupt. Weishaupt. He says that he's totally cool with something called coffee badging. Okay, coffee badging refers to the practice of swiping your badge into your office building, hanging around long enough to drink a morning coffee and chat with your colleagues, and going right back home to get work done.
That to me is hilarious. That is hilarious. There you go. There you go. There's your Zoomers in a nutshell. I'm going to go to work, get my free coffee, hang out with some friends, and then come back home. That's awesome. There you go. There's nothing wrong with America today. America's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine.
At workplaces with strict office mandates, it's seen as a way to get credit for being in the office while still enjoying the benefits of remote work.
You think? Yeah, think? Is that what it is? Really?
The strategy should be acceptable to bosses everywhere, says Weishaupt, who has more than 20 years of executive experience.
And they mentioned his executive experience. to tell you, he knows what he's talking about. He knows. He's giving you great guidance here.
At small startups and large companies like Yahoo. If someone will benefit from the office's social interactions before needing isolation to be productive, let them do that. And then he proceeds to say, quote, "We hire people to do a job. I don't hire people to watch them work. I do love the in-office participation when we get it, but I want it to be organic." And then finally he says, "The office has a role, but mandating that you must come into the office on this day at this time and leaving no earlier than this time, that is a dead concept. Monitoring employees' activities is a really slippery slope where you're going to lose trust." Okay, I agree with everything he said. Everything he said was accurate.
I don't know if I agree with everything he said there, but there should be certain standards. You would think, I don't know. I've never been a CEO in Yahoo, but it's not like Yahoo's still around, really, is it? Is Yahoo still around? I don't know.
Now, it's also true that everything he says should be considered deeply irrelevant to the reporter who penned this piece. Why do I say that? Well, let's go to the next graphic, because Frank Weishaupt, CEO of Boston-based video conferencing equipment maker Owl Labs. I said, we don't need to read any more. That's it.
Owl Labs basically is like some startup that's competing with Zoom or Teams. It's like, that's what they are. So I'm totally fine with people video conferencing. I think that's a healthy way to run a business. It's a great catch by TYT right here.
Why? There is a conflict of interest here, no?
Yeah.
He's the CEO of a video conferencing company. He wants people to work from home. So why do we give a damn what he thinks about remote work? He stands to profit off of remote work.
Yep.
So since there's a conflict of interest, am I crazy for thinking this, Cenk? I mean, I just feel like this is literally journalism 101. This is like the first thing you learn in journalism school.
I know this because you might not realize this, but I spent a great deal of time in journalism 101, and I'm going to tell you, on my way to becoming an accredited member of the media, and I'm going to tell you something. One of the first things they covered in all those classes I took to earn my stripes to get into this very, very noble and prestigious association was Conflict 101. What is a conflict?
If there is a conflict of interest with the source, you don't use the source.
Look, there's even some chance it's an ad of some sort. I hope not, but that's so brazen.
It's pretty brazen.
And it's like the CEO of GM says, these electric cars are terrible and you shouldn't bike anywhere, and you definitely don't walk and don't go sailing. Yeah, I know he wants you to use the cars. I get it. I mean, at a bare minimum,
it's like walk. Okay, explain the joke to us, Cenk. Explain the joke to us. You must be awesome at parties.
You have to note that the guy is in the business of making sure that you can work from home at a bare minimum.
Okay,
but probably find someone else for the quote.
You think?
But I mean, this kind of stuff happens all the time, and we've covered much worse instances of it. NBC having defense contractors on the air that are former generals but currently selling specific equipment. And the most famous example.
Oh, you mean like in support of the Ukraine war? Is that what you mean? Like all these generals who are like, oh, we can totally win in Ukraine. We can totally win in Ukraine. The Ukrainians they're going to dismantle Putin. Oh, Putin, he's toast. He's toast. He just needs us to help him out by giving him money so that money will spin back over to me. and Putin is toast. Yeah, you think?
Is when they had General McCaffrey on, and he's saying, what we really need in Iraq is the Abrams tank. That'll solve it. You're gonna be surprised to find out he was working for a defense contractor that sells the Abrams tank.
Well, yeah, but that's my point is, but you're sitting here pitching for Ukraine. Where did you get your source of information that they have any chance?
So, I mean, this is mainstream media 101, and it ain't got nothing to do with journalism.
Like, what's next? Landlords for commercial buildings?
You have politicians who are making money from the money that we send to Ukraine, telling us how we must protect Ukraine. Like, how do you not see that you're falling prey for the same thing when you quote politicians? Like, why don't you see that?
And office buildings weighing in on the matter. We believe that it makes a lot more sense for workers to go into the office and show their employers that they are serious about the jobs they're doing. But you're a landlord, right? Like you wouldn't interview a landlord of an office building on a story like this, except maybe you would. Maybe CNBC would. It's so absurd. And look, you just do a quick Google search and you'll find results like this. Owl Labs leading the way in smart video conferencing. And then, there's that sub portion that says, discover Owl Labs, the leader in hybrid work tech, 360 degree video conferencing with crystal clear audio and video for remote meetings that feel in person.
What are you doing?
They don't feel in person. And that's okay. They don't need to be in person. Like we get
I try them. They suck.
Get the message. We're all talking to each other. We know what we need to do. Let's move on with our lives. It's going to be all right. And they do include some advice to any bosses feeling unsure about office mandates. Trust your gut and do what's right for.
I'm loving watching them come after the leftist media. Like, that's what I'm saying is you wouldn't expect them to come at these. Normally they run, these leftists all run cover for each other. And this is TYT calling out leftist media for being complete and total hacks. I mean, all they need is a little clip from Trump saying, "You're fake news." That's all they need. That's all you need here. It's good that it's taken like 7 years for you to learn that Donald was right, but okay.
Your particular workplace. The office has a role, but it's more task-based. If I have meetings on Wednesday morning that need to be in person in the office, I will be. And if I choose to be in the office, the reminder of the day to finish my work, I'll do it. Oh, the remainder, I should say. Sorry, guys. The remainder of the day to finish my work, I'll do it. But if I want to do it in another location, I should be able to have that flexibility. Again, another comment from Frank.
Besides which, they have to stop writing these articles entirely. Like, guys, we get it. If you are a company that needs people in the building.
All right, the blowhard is less entertaining to me. But I'm down. I'm watching Anna slowly getting red pilled. Slowly, until like by November. I hope she doesn't cast her ballot too early, because by November she's gonna be rooting for Trump. That's what I'm seeing here. She's gonna be rooting for Trump. Anyways, that's the first thing I want. That's the first TYT story I wanted to share with you all, because I got a lot of pleasure watching that. The next one I want to talk about is two stories that they covered, that TYT covered, related to Trump being on the ballot. And the right to kick him off. And I'm going to go first with the earlier one before the Supreme Court decision, and then we're going to see what they say after the Supreme Court decision. So let's break down what they say before, and I feel like me breaking down TYT's legal analysis is really right in the sweet spot there for what I should be covering here on my show. So with that, let's see what they were saying prior to the Supreme Court decision. Right after Illinois, hilariously, some judge in Illinois is like, "Oh, I'm taking him off the ballot because he doesn't belong there." And I'm fairly certain this is going to hold up. Before I get there, let me cover this. If farm can vote, Cenk would be president. If you don't know the law, you should. And then H. Coffey says, Cenk lore, he once said something along the lines of, if he could do anything, making bestiality legal. Oh, my God. Oh, God. Why? Why would you? God. Lord. What does he want to stick himself inside of? God. And that's the nicest way to think about it, rather than reverse. Lord. Robert Pennington says, I've been in a cult moment for 4 months. The Kool-Aid it tastes fine. Tastes fine. There's no Kool-Aid here. Okay, let me be clear. There's no Kool-Aid. I don't know who's giving you the Kool-Aid. There's no Kool-Aid. Okay, there's no Kool-Aid. No self-harm. No harming others. No spaceships. No tracksuits that are mandatory. Mild farm work. No squirrel mutilations. No goat sacrifices. No stabbing yourself with a jabby jab. No throwing virgins into volcanoes. It's the following is not at all a cult. And I'm not the leader. I'm not the leader. I'm not the leader. I'm not the leader of the following. I'm not. I'm just a follower, just like you. Following is just about community unity and greater personal growth. And happy 4-month anniversary. Michael, I love how Cenk tries so hard to act as though TNT isn't mainstream media, but here they are attacking mainstream media. So there you go. You feel like you're playing Risk. You don't want to play Risk against me, brother. I know I keep getting invites from you. I made the mistake of admitting that every once in a while I play Risk under a pseudonym, and I can't figure out how to even play because my phone doesn't recognize the name that I have used on there. So I'm just like, it's not Joe, it's not Neerman, it's not Good Lawgic. It's some random, really random name that they just assigned to me. They don't let you pick your names. So I just ended up clicking. I went through a bunch of names. I was like, no. That's all right. Let's take that. So good luck. Maybe you'll find me. Who knows? I don't know. So anyhow, let's get into this next story here. Next story is covering. So I want to compare their legal analysis of a finding by an Illinois judge that Trump should be off the ballot before SCOTUS, and then their legal analysis and their assessment of the DNC's perspective and reaction to the SCOTUS decision after the decision was released. So first things first, here's where they stood days before there was this finding, before the Supreme Court finding, and this was after Illinois became the third state to take them off the ballot?
Will be taken off the Republican primary ballot in Illinois now that a judge in the state has weighed in on the matter. Now, Cook County Circuit Court Judge Tracy Porter cited January 6th
diversity hire
for the reasoning behind her decision to take Trump off the Republican primary ballot. But her ruling is placed on hold to give Trump time to appeal before the state's March 19th primary. Now, Porter's ruling said that based on engaging in insurrection on January 6th of 2021, his name should be removed from the ballot. How?
Idiot, incompetent boob. If only because by this point, it was after the SCOTUS's oral arguments. And for you to actually think that this was going to stand up toward, and that the SCOTUS wasn't going to utterly reject it, you have to be a complete and total moron. You're seriously just incompetent. Why not even wait a couple of days? Wait a couple of days and just see what SCOTUS is going to do. But no, you're just stupid. If it's a size too small, that's designed to enhance your overall physical appearance. So don't take that's it's meant to fit snugly. It's meant to. But you thought this was like something like you're supposed to look like Paulie Walnuts here? No. It's meant to fit snugly. Here we go.
How this case came to be, let's get into that. A group of 5 petitioners asked the state to remove Trump from the primary ballot on January 4th, the day he submitted filings to appear on the ballot, Porter wrote in her ruling. The petitioners also asked the Cook County Circuit Court for judicial review of the matter. Now, Trump has already appealed this, his campaign has already appealed this, and the Supreme Court is actually already hearing arguments in regard to the state of Colorado doing something very similar. Illinois is the 3rd state where Trump was deemed ineligible for the primary ballot, and similar rulings have also been issued in Colorado and in Maine. Both are also
9-0
on pause. So in each instance where Trump was booted from the ballot, the disqualification clause of the Constitution's 14th Amendment was cited, and we have gotten into that argument before, but just as a reminder, I'll tell you what that portion of the Constitution says. Section 3 of the 14th Amendment is a Civil War era provision that holds that someone who has taken an oath to the Constitution as a member of Congress, as an officer of the United States, as a member of any state legislature, or as a state executive or judicial officer and has engaged in insurrection cannot hold public office, but it does not specify whether the provision applies to president.
Now, I just want to point out here, I'm fairly certain that Cenk has a law degree. I think he is a lawyer somewhere in California or somewhere. I'm fairly certain that he is. Not positive, but fairly certain. Way back in time, he got a law degree, I think. So he should know what he's talking about on this topic.
Even though, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious it does.
We might have millions of people watching.
Oh, and yeah, even the dumbest justice in the history of almost any Supreme Court ever recognized that this is not going to work. So there you go. And she is. She's easily the dumbest in American history, and you'll have a tough road to hoe to find that there were any dumber anywhere, on any national stage, any court system in the annals of time. I defy you to find someone dumber than Justice Sotomayor. But let's hear his pitch here. I love this pitch, and he's talking about me. He's really shilling for me. He's about to be shilling. And you should consider what he's saying in the context of supporting this channel. So tell him, Cenk, why should they support Good Logic?
In this show, but you can be the difference maker, because we just need 1% of our audience to be paid members, and then this.
I just need 1%. 1%. I need more than 1%. I just need 40%. 40%. But if 40% of you were to subscribe, I could be doing this forever.
This show can be around forever, so you can make that difference. Click join now. Okay, guys. So I told you before.
Click join now. All right, let's get the legal assessment from Cenk Uygur. Here we go. I'm trying to build a fire for him because his brain's working hard now. Brain working hard. Supreme Court has not yet weighed in at this point in time. He's got to sit here coming to legal assessment. Here we go, Cenk. Do it.
Before Donald Trump did commit an insurrection, he did a fake election.
Nope, definitely did not. If he did, he would have been charged. Bad call, bad start, but go for it.
Elector plot to do a coup against the country.
Fake elector plot. You can't even necessarily tie that to him. Necessarily, arguably, not really fake elector, when they actually, most of them were saying if this respective state changes, in that case we don't want to be precluded from having our votes counting. So that's not really fake elector. It's really alternate elector. Use the proper terminology. Language is important. You should know that.
MAGA doesn't care. They love it. We ask them, do you like dictators? They say, yeah, we much prefer.
That's what we say. That's what you hear me all the time saying, oh, I much prefer dictators. You've heard me say this many times. I much prefer dictators. Much prefer it.
For let Donald Trump be a dictator than Joe Biden be president.
Because there's lots of evidence that he's the real dictator, Trump, and not Joe Biden. No, it's true that Judge Terry Doughty labeled the Biden administration is the worst abuse of First Amendment rights in the history of America, but yeah, Trump is the dictator. Okay.
So we're not going to affect him. Independents, I get it, man. You think you're angry with Joe Biden? You should get a load of how angry I am with Joe Biden. Okay.
Okay. So tell us how angry you are. Oh, my finger's burning. That's weird.
Okay. So, but this isn't about that. This is about. Number one, did he do the insurrection? Absolutely, positively. He planned a coup against America.
That's right, staying resistant. Trust me, staying resistant when you're wearing a tracksuit is very important. Very important.
He lost, and he tried to stay in office anyway because he hates.
Nope. Did not know he lost. No. In fact, it's pretty stupid to actually think that he actually believed he lost. Everything you know about Trump, everything you know about him, the narcissism, the insecurity, all the shortcomings you're always attaching to him, many of which I actually agree on a personal level are probably true. While I think he was a phenomenal president, I think a lot of the attacks they make as far as to his personal character, a lot of them They got basis for it. Not going to dispute that. I certainly wouldn't want my kids to have the mental impairments, the personality impairments that President John Trump has. I get that. I get that. When we consider his mindset, though, should that not be a factor when we're trying to figure out what he actually believed? That he actually believed he won, even if you are positive he lost. Look, my brain, I'm positive he won. Okay, I'm positive he won. I have no doubt, and I know that this is now going to get a whole warning now. And when you're watching this after, you probably saw some sort of thing flash up there saying that January 6th was or whatever, or the election was perfect or whatever. You're probably going to see that, but at least they're not going to punish me as far as making this, as far as giving me a strike or something like that. But if you're not where I'm at and your brain is at no, everything there was kosher above board and he actually really lost. And let's assume that you're correct and I'm totally wrong where I'm over here. I'm sitting here and I'm just like blindsided and I'm blinding myself to like obvious facts that are true. Okay. So now you're over here and the whole election was perfect. Everything was great. Everything was great. You're over here, hiding behind Cenk and saying everything was great. Okay. So if you're there, you should at least recognize that while you might recognize that because of all the personal foibles that we all can readily see in Donald Trump, that he probably wouldn't even admit that to himself that he lost, right? So since he wouldn't admit that to himself, the obvious response to you, Chunk, is no. He doesn't know he lost. Because even if he had lost and everything you're saying was 100% accurate, in his brain, he never would have accepted that as being reality. So no, he did not know he lost. And even if 1,000 people, 10,000 people all came to him in a room and said, you lost, you have to recognize that this is an individual who's like, no, I did not. That's just the reality of who he is. That's Donald Trump. Love him or hate him, that is the reality. So that being the case, no, he doesn't know he lost. Quite the contrary, in his heart of hearts, he knows he won. In my heart, he's right. But yeah.
The idea of freedom, democracy, he just wants to be in charge. He's a spoiled little brat, one of the worst people in the country. If you look up to him,
one of the worst people in the country. He's so bitter. This is his legal assessment. You know why he's doing this? It's because he's about to actually say, I don't think that these suits have any merit. But he's like, I don't want anyone of my fans here who all hate him to think for a second that I'm on his side. So I have to go through a 10-minute spiel here where I'm going through the whole history of war and peace and my perspectives on Donald Trump before I tell you that on this one, he's kind of right. He's kind of legally right. I guess two lefts don't make a right. Beware learning tactics. That's true. Yeah, Charlemagne gifting. I'm gonna give one of these just because I like when people gift. And we need more. We need more members because I need 40%. I need 40%. At the very least, you need to hit subscribe. If you're here now, I'm urging. At the very least, you have to subscribe. You don't want to become a member. Okay, fine. I understand. You don't want to dig into the pocket just yet. You're not sure. You're not positive. You're like, maybe it really is a cult. He keeps saying it's not at all a cult type of cult. Maybe it really is a very culty type of cult. So you don't know. You don't know for sure yet. So I get that. I understand that. I feel you. But at the very least, you subscribe. I mean, come on. You like and subscribe. That's what you do. I mean, that's just like, it's like if someone holds the door for you, you don't say thank you. Well, you just march on in there, just march on in. Oh, I'm here. People holding the door for me. I don't have to say thank you or acknowledge them in any way, shape, or form. So I'm not going to hit the like or subscribe buttons either when I'm watching videos that are charging me absolutely no money to be providing to me with information and entertainment at the same time in the middle of the freaking night. It's kind of rude. You're better than I believe in you. I believe in you. You're better than that. You can do it. I'm obviously not talking to Charlemagne, who's not just a member herself, but gifting memberships, trying to indoctrinate to a healthy lifestyle, not towards a cult, not at all toward a cult type of cult. All right, so if you're here and you can hit the like and subscribe, and when I say here, I mean not just YouTube. I also mean Rumble, obviously, or on X. You can follow me on X also. That's another place. You watch me on X. That's your dealio is X. All right. You can like and subscribe there too. Let me hit up on Rumble before I move forward. Everyone is sitting around the tunnel break room talking about a comet. What comet, Dano? I don't know. Breck Nichols. Joe, fitting snug wouldn't do me any good. When I was young, I was husky. These days, I'm relaxed, apparently. Oh, there you go. Bill Doe says, oh, Joe, you didn't know about his affinity for horse? No, I don't want to know about his affinity for horses. Why are people giving me information that you know I don't want to have? I don't want to have that information. God. Examoon TV, reminder that Cenk Uygur thinks it's okay to train horses as long as you're a giver and not a receiver. It doesn't cause any injury to the animal. It's a family show, Examoon. It's a family show. Go for big guy. If you want to know what MAGA is, you should watch the Colonel Douglas McGregor's Honest and Truthful State of the Union. I just sent it to you on X, well worth the watch, 10 minutes long. I want to check it out before I believe you, but I want to check it out. And thank you for the 20, my brother. Appreciate you. All right. Oh, and Bob says, no one ever talks about the coup that overthrew the U.S. in 1787, the one where a conspiracy of elite centralized power and subverted so many ideals which the revolution was fought over. What? What? No. What? No. Why? No. Why? No. This is almost as bad as the horse comment. What is happening? Can we get back to Cenk? Is that what happens when you were sitting here with Cenk in front of you too long? All of a sudden, just the whole conversation just goes wonky all over the place. Can we please stick to the topic at hand? This is Cenk's legal assessment as to the whole 14th Amendment Section 3 claim that the left tried making against Trump.
As your leader, I feel sick for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, having said that,
now that he's sent there basically saying that he hates Trump in a deranged type of level, let's get to your legal analysis.
You can see to say that I'm not a fan of Donald Trump would be the biggest understatement you could possibly have.
So you're saying there's no Trump sign in front of your house. There's no Trump 2024 sign in front. There's no MAGA flag. Is that what you're saying? That only 2 MAGA flags, not 3, is too much? That's what you're trying to say, Cenk? Is that what you're trying to say?
But guys, we didn't prove insurrection. The dumbass Democrats never even charged it.
Why do you think that is? Why didn't they charge insurrection? The dumbass Democrats never even charged. You didn't prove insurrection. I agree with you on that. Why do you think that is?
And the idiot corporate Republicans who actually hate Donald Trump.
They do.
And they have massive problems of their own.
Yep, because they're uniparty schmucks.
But they could have ended him in the impeachment, in the second impeachment.
They probably, whether that would have worked or not is a very interesting legal question, because then we would be forced to the question of, does an impeachment work after the fact? So could they have? Arguably, probably yes. The Supreme Court probably would have given it their sanctioning, even though it wasn't overseen by the Chief Justice, which is really supposed to be. But arguably, it probably would have worked if they had signed off on the second impeachment.
But Mitch McConnell and the others were cowards.
Cowards. They were. It's not that they were cowards. It's that they were haggling. See, this is what you're too stupid to realize, Cenk, okay? They were haggling. And what they wanted was, they didn't want Assange and Snowden pardoned. So they said, they basically said to him, we don't want to see those guys pardoned. And if you end up, and we're not going to impeach you, we're not going to convict you as long as you don't pardon him. We're not going to come after you in a lot of different ways, your children, in ways that we could. Just don't pardon Assange and Snowden. Likely a few other demands as well. But that's what it was about. And you're sitting here saying they were cowards. No, they weren't cowards. They were politicians. They were slimy, scummy politicians. That's what they were. Well, I think that he really should be impeached, but we shouldn't do impeachment after he's left office. So that's why we're going to leave it to the justice system to take care of what's supposed to be happening with President Trump. But or some sort of stupid message that McConnell gave at the end. That's what that was. That was tit for tat. Somebody sat down from McConnell's office, I can promise you, with Donald Trump and said, you're not going to pardon Assange and then you're not going to get impeached. That's what happened. That's what happened. Probably a few other demands made of him as well. So there was probably more negotiation, more exchange back and forth there. But there was definitely some haggling that happened there. You're sitting here thinking that like, oh, he's just sitting there trying to protect him because he cares about Trump. You just said a second ago they hate him. And they do. They clearly hate him. The establishment Republicans despise Trump. So why do you think they gave him a pass unless they got something from him for it? And the most likely thing, the most obvious thing that's sticking out there is there was the other thing that he probably gave in. The other thing he probably gave in on was not pardoning the January 6 people. That's the other thing he probably gave in. That's the other thing he probably gave in. I'll tell you this much. He probably gave himself a pocket pardon also. He probably is holding a pocket pardon. I'd be surprised if he isn't. I'd be disappointed if he isn't. That if he were to get convicted on the RICO charges or anything related to January 6th, he probably has a pardon.
Total other cowards. So they didn't convict him in the Senate. So if you didn't convict him in the Senate, which would have said you can't run again, and you
that's arguably likely, yeah.
never charged him with insurrection, and you never proved it in court, and you waited 2.5 years to charge him because you thought he's one of the elites. We don't want to hurt any of the elites. Oh gosh, he's running again, so let's now charge him. And now you're too late. You're too late. So now after
he's so angry. This is the political expert. And he can't even figure out what's at all. He has no way of even surmising what's actually happening behind closed doors. Can you not smell it? How is the noxious odor of politics playing into this whole process, not flooding your nostrils? You have the nose. You have the nose. I mean, come on. He's got a big enough schnoz. He could be able to smell it. You can smell Washington from wherever your studio is. How do you not smell it? Come on. So I don't know if he's too ignorant or he's some sort of sellout. This is the sort of thing I would imagine he would be throwing out there. I want to sit down with Cenk one time and just point this out to him. That is this not the most likely scenario as to what happened with the establishment GOP not going after Trump, even though they hate him, and not basically cutting the head off, what they would be considered cutting the head off the snake, but allowing him to live to another day, fight another day, thank God, and why is that Trump didn't pardon the January 6 people? Why didn't he pardon Julian Assange and Snowden, which were obviously waiting out there for him to do? Why didn't he do that? Those are two confusing things, and you can see how they sort of cross each other out right there, right? Right?
Send in your Democratic judges and now say, well, we kind of think he did an insurrection. I mean, that's not the standard in the Constitution, but I kind of think so. And Cenk said it on air. Is that good enough? No, it's not good enough. It's not anywhere near good enough.
Of course it's not good enough. Here's another thing. Here's another newsflash for you. There's no way they could have made insurrection stick. Zero chance. Jack Smith didn't even bring insurrection. He's still not indicted for it. They know that there's no way they could have made it stick. That then all of a sudden you're begging for Brandenburg to basically dismiss that, and what you would have if he had been charged with insurrection. I wish he would have been, because he would have been cleared of insurrection. No one would be able to say insurrection anymore. I think part of the reason they didn't charge him with insurrection is because they saw that would be something he'd be totally found not guilty on, and that would be the end of the story. You would be able to keep screaming insurrection anymore. That's why he looks so angry. Oh my! Do I make that face sometimes? Look at that face. Look at that face. He looks so angry. Look at those eyes, the tense mouth, all of it. I don't look like that. I don't look like that. I never look like that. Right? I mean, I don't look like that. God, he looks deranged. He looks really deranged. He's something wrong with this dude. Something wrong with him. Family show on this show. Family show. Adam's Family, Brady Bunch. Al Bundy. Apparently we've gotten more and more towards Married with Children. Tonight feels like the Married with Children version, which is not a family show.
So of course he should go on the ballot. You know what's going to happen if he doesn't go on the ballot? because randos decided that he committed an insurrection without any conviction? People are gonna go nuts.
Yeah. They would have. I think the Supreme Court smelled that too. I think the Supreme Court definitely smelled that. You would basically, we would have a civil war. Imagine the Supreme Court had basically said, no, the states can decide this. Can you even imagine God forbid, we would have bloodshed in the streets. We would have bloodshed in the streets. I've been telling you not to do it, but we would have bloodshed in the streets.
Tear this country apart. And look, I'll do it if I thought it was right. But you didn't follow the right. You can't argue for the rule of law and then not follow the rule of law. Merrick Garland should have charged him with insurrection on day one.
Why didn't he? It's because it never would have worked. That's why. Examoon says Cenk is voting for Ruhollah Khomeini for the 2024 US election.
But that coward loser sat on his hands for 2.5 years. Well, maybe the single worst attorney general we've ever had.
Oh, I'll agree with you on that. Oh, you got my vote for that. Oh, I'm totally down. High five. Totally agree with you on that. Worst attorney general in the history of America. We probably have completely different reasons as to why we come to that conclusion. But worst attorney general in American history. Treasonous attorney general, arguably. Yeah, terrible human being. Far worse human being than Donald Trump.
So now the Democrats come crying and go, oh, we don't like it. He's winning in the polls. Can we take him off the ballots? Because we think he did an insurrection, even though we didn't charge him and we didn't prove it. Well, no, losers. That's not how it works.
No losers. Every time he says losers, it reminds me of a roommate of mine back when I was like in my early college days. I had a roommate who'd be listening to the Knicks game, and every time Oakley would miss a free throw, or worse yet, Starks, who's supposed to know how to shoot the ball, would miss a free throw from the other room. I would be sitting there doing my college work, and I would just hear him scream out, "Losers!" He literally burned his Knicks jersey in a bathtub. Literally set it on fire after they lost to the Rockets. Set it on fire. Screaming about what a loser Starks was. And I never, you don't really hear grown adults often screaming loser. But every time I hear Chunk say that, that's what I picture. I picture my roommate screaming from the other room, losers. And trust me, I laughed exactly the same way 30 years ago when I heard it then. I thought it was hilarious back then too. I'll say it sometimes, but I'm doing it like for comedic effect. He's saying it like in rage, losers. Oh God, Cenk is the gift that keeps on giving. He's the gift that keeps on giving. Oh, definitely Anna. Anna is much closer towards being red-pilled. Anna's getting very close to being red-pilled.
He's gonna go on the ballot, and he's probably gonna kick your ass because you're totally detached from reality and detached from the American people. So good luck. I warned you 100 times about Donald Trump, but the one people who definitely do not believe that Donald Trump is a danger is Democratic leadership. No person in their right mind, if you thought you were gonna lose the country, imagine if your family's life's on the line, you're gonna run Joe Biden, an 81-year-old corpse. No, it's not about Joe Biden. It's Democrats don't think that Donald Trump's a real danger. Otherwise, they would never act like this.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have muted the peen dude over there in Rumble. I was just like, he's like practically spamming, typing so much. So I didn't mute him forever, just for tonight. It's like, dude, chill. Come back tomorrow. Okay, come back tomorrow.
This is just blatant dumbass cheating at the end. God, that's so stupid. Especially when your main tagline in the election is democracy's on the line.
Yeah, democracy's on the line, so let's strip away the only opponent that scares us.
Democracy's on the line, and I'd like to remove the guy running against me from the ballot? I mean, can you imagine a worse campaign message?
Are we gonna pretend like
But the campaign message is still out there because you tried. So when you say democracy on the line, yeah, you already tried. You already swallowed that pill, sucker.
Democrats haven't made a mockery of our democratic process for years now? Are we really gonna we're gonna pretend?
Are
pretend.
you kidding me?
They didn't allow for, in this election, they didn't allow for a robust primary. They squashed any mention of primary debates. They didn't allow people to even appear on the ballots. They didn't allow primary elections in specific states like Florida. But that's just during this election. Okay, the games that the DNC and the Democratic establishment plays, specifically during the primaries, when most Americans unfortunately aren't paying attention, is amazing. And they get away with it because most Americans don't pay attention to the primaries that are incredibly important. So you're not left with a crap sandwich at the end. Okay, who do you go for? Do you go for someone you can't stand or someone you hate even more? That's what.
Well, now it's like, fortunately, we actually have great choices. We have one clear winner and one clearly corrupt, self-interested, doddering old man who's been destroying the country for 3 years. So it's pretty easy this time around, honey.
What our general elections have become, because no one pays attention to primaries, and for the Democratic voters who do pay attention to primaries, the Democratic establishment doesn't really allow you to have a choice, do they? They play all sorts of games and they crush anyone who dare challenge the
You should teach them a lesson by voting Republican. Teach them a lesson. Spank them.
Status quo among the Democratic Party. So please spare me the whining and crying about, oh, Republicans don't.
Teach them a lesson.
Don't value our democracy, because I guarantee you, neither do the Democrats who call the shots during these primary elections, period. And so honestly, at this point, every time I hear one of them get into one of their little.
You should say to anyone who votes for Biden, I'm better than you. You're dumb. I'm better than you. That's what you should say to them.
Rants about how dangerous Trump is, I can't help but roll my eyes. It's hard for me to take it seriously, Cenk.
Yeah, no, I understand. There's two camps and they're both totally detached from reality. There's the MAGA guys who think that Donald Trump won the election, and then even though he can't present one piece of evidence in court, not one, in over 60 trials in the beginning, now he's on trial for subverting democracy in Atlanta, and in the federal case, he still hasn't presented one piece of evidence that he actually won the election.
There's a lot of evidence, actually. There's a lot of, you don't like his evidence, but there's a lot of evidence.
Mike Lindell just lost $5 million because he said, oh yeah, if you could prove that he lost the election, and then Trump supporter proved that he lost the election. But you can't get through to them because they've lost their minds and they don't care. They hate facts. Now on the blue, oh, you're feeling really good, blue side, right? Blue team, yeah. And on the blue side, you say, oh, well, of course you end elections in a primary. That's the Democratic thing to do. Of course you don't question the leader, even if the leader is incompetent, is in the 30s in the polling, is definitely going to, it's just falling apart at the seams. Don't. Everybody in media has to lie in favor of the dear leader, and that dear leader is young and has vitality and is amazing and is such a great human being and loves democracy. And by the way, as I say all these things, tons of Democrats go, yeah, that's definitely true. Are you going to say that's not true? Guys, wakey, you're detached from reality. None of that is true. He's a walking corpse, and he's trying to cast.
You're voting for a walking corpse. That's who you're going to be shilling for the next what? 8 months? You're shilling for a walking corpse. Have fun with that.
Elections all throughout the primaries, and he's doing every dirty trick there is, including this story, where they didn't actually try Donald Trump on insurrection, and now they're having the courts go, Biden's going to lose. Eliminate him. Just take him off the ballot.
The funny thing is, the Supreme Court knocked this out, nothing having to do with whether or not he was guilty of insurrection. And he's sitting here making like, it's all about the insurrection and like whatever. It's like, this is the lawyer. My God.
Right? And still, blue MAGA thinks, no. Well, of course, no, if you favor democracy.
Have you ever heard of blue MAGA before? I mean, what is blue MAGA? Is that MAGA which like basically is into anime? What is blue MAGA? I don't know. What is blue MAGA? I don't know. This This is a new term for me. Is blue MAGA like a reference to their hair color? Like what is blue MAGA? Is blue MAGA someone who basically, like, you know, is sitting in the corner watching his wife? What is blue MAGA? I don't know.
See, you don't have any in the primary. You only obey the authoritarian leader, and you make sure that no one can run against you in the primary or the general election. And that's why we're pro-democracy. No, both sides hate democracy. They just want to be in charge. So the only people,
I think that's pretty much true, by the way. It's a spectrum. I never considered that before. I guess so. Blue MAGA.
that are right are the people in the middle who are getting crunched by these two evil forces.
You're that loud smack. Losers.
While we were all watching the
I don't know what this is. I don't need to see you. I don't need to see you. I don't know. There's something weird happening. Okay, the nose ring doesn't look right or something. I don't know what's happening. All right, so I mean, don't tell me that's the wrong call. Getting rid of this. There's something strange happening here. And I don't want to hear none of you say you can fix her. You can't fix her. You can't fix her. You cannot fix her. Anyhow. Wiki Blue MAGA. This guy's he is. I told you. Watching me, I actually think that I could basically make a career out of just me watching Cenk and laughing at Cenk. That's what I think, that I can make a channel called just Joe watching Cenk and just having thrills with that. Oh my God. All right. So speaking of which, I got one more clip that I want to watch here with you. One more, and this is the TYT reacting to SCOTUS's decision 9-0 in favor of Trump keeping him on the ballots. This was a couple of days later. So let's check out what Cenk and Anna had to say about that. And I'm going to tell you something. The reason I'm sharing this is that their take is actually, compared to a lot on the left, pretty normal. So, but watching them rip apart the other Democrats, it's pretty funny.
Former President Donald Trump is celebrating today following a Supreme Court decision that will in fact allow the former president to appear on state primary ballots. Now, SCOTUS's decision undoes a Colorado ruling that disqualified Trump from the primary ballot by citing January 6th riots as their reasoning behind it. Now, today's ruling comes one day prior to Super Tuesday, when more than a dozen states are set to hold their primary elections. Now, what was the reasoning behind their unanimous decision? The justices said the Constitution does not permit a single state to disqualify a presidential candidate from national office, ruling that such responsibility rests with Congress and not the states.
Pretty base ruling there.
And really the main argument that they're making here is that basically that states can make or cite the 14th Amendment in making decisions about elections pertaining to state and local candidates, but they cannot do so in regard to federal candidates or federal elections. That's really the job of Congress. That's the main argument that they made here.
And that's essentially a pretty nice, simplified way of breaking it down. I agree with her take there on that. That's pretty good.
But they made another argument as well. The court warned of disruption and chaos if a candidate for nationwide office could be declared ineligible in some states, but not others, based on the same conduct. Nothing in the Constitution requires that we endure such chaos, arriving at any time or different times up to and perhaps beyond the inauguration, the court said in a 13-page unsigned opinion. Now, how did this case come to be?
One of the best videos of all time. Watching Anna lose it on the 2016 election. If you've never seen it yet, that's when she was saying, like, I am better than you. She was angry at every woman who voted for Donald Trump and screaming, I'm better than you. I am better than you. You're dumb. You're dumb. How can you vote for this misogynist? I am better than you. That was just, oh my God, just instant classic TV. But she's come a long way over the last 7-8 years.
It's important to know about how it came to be. I think that there's this assumption by Trump supporters that it was the Biden White House or the Biden campaign that was egging this on. Biden has made a public statement about this in the past, saying that they should allow Trump on the primary ballots. But
I don't remember ever seeing that. I don't remember that. You remember seeing that? I don't remember that. When did that happen?
Nonetheless, the challenge to Trump's candidacy was brought by 6 Colorado voters, 4 of whom who happen to be Republicans, 2 of whom happen to be independents. The Colorado Supreme Court found that Trump had engaged in insurrection when he summoned his supporters to Washington and encouraged them to disrupt Congress's certification of Biden's victory. That was what occurred on January 6th. But that wasn't an argument that persuaded the Supreme Court justices. At oral argument on February 8th, justices from across the ideological spectrum warned of troubling political ramifications if they permitted Colorado's top court to order the leading Republican presidential candidate off the ballot. Several justices suggested that allowing the state court ruling to bar Trump from federal office would throw the presidential race into turmoil and lead other states to try to disqualify Democratic candidates. Now, I can't wait to share the hysterical reaction by the likes of Keith Olbermann. That's gonna be a fun comedic relief moment on the show today. But before we get to that, Cenk, jump in.
We might have millions of people watching this show, but you can
look at how often he's chilling. What percent did you need? Because it should be, please, when you're pitching this for me, and he's talking to you in supporting this channel right here, because whatever you can say about his inability to predict like the future with respect to anything remotely related to politics, he had to know that one day I would be presenting this to you, my very fine audience here, and laughing my ass off at him. And that accordingly, when he's making this pitch, you should interpret this as him talking to you about supporting this channel at the very least, if not with your hard-earned after-tax dollars, at the very least with a like and a subscription. So, but please tell us, Cenk, what do you need?
Be the difference maker, because we just need 1% of our audience to be paid members, and then this show can be around forever. So you can make that.
How do you not get 1%? How bad are you? Let's get 1%. 1%? 1%? Wait a second. Do I have 1%? Do I have 1%? That's a fair point. I don't think I have 1%. I take that back. You're getting 1% to be paid members. That can be a challenge. 1%. All right, I'm going to shoot for 1%. Let's do it. 1%. Let's do it. 1%. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. 1%. We just need 1%, and I can be around forever. Forever. 1%. Are you going to be? This is your chance. This is to be in the top 1%. It's your chance for $5 a month to be in the top 1%. You become a follower and you're in the top 1%. And it's not at all a cult type of cult. Just be in the 1%. In the 1%. You want to be one of those 99%ers who's bitching all the time, or you want to be in the 1%? Everyone knows you want to be in the 1%. You might hate the 1%, but if you chance to be them, you want to be in the 1%. And for $5 a month, you sign up here, you become a member of the following, you get your tracksuits if you're so inclined, not mandatory, no Kool-Aid, there's no self-harm, no harming others. It's just, and you can now say you're in the 1%. There you go. There you go. All right. So he's talking to you. Join the 1%. It's not okay. It's not at all a cult. Type of cult. I'm tired of it. Tired of people making that claim.
That difference. Click join now. So understand what the decision is and isn't. So first, they did not adjudicate the insurrection at all. So they say, and not only that, they say the states cannot adjudicate it at all. And
well, because it's not a state charge. Not on a national level. You can't determine whether someone's federally determined to be an insurrectionist. That they kind of got to, yeah.
And apparently the courts can't either. Criminal courts can't either. It has to be an act of Congress, meaning that if Donald Trump was convicted of insurrection after this ruling, I think he could still serve, which goes way too far. And that's why Amy.
No, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. So that's a stupid assessment. That's a stupid assessment. Because the only insurrection charge you could raise is 18 U.S.C. 2383, and he was charged with that. No one can become a president once they're convicted of that. You wouldn't need the 14th Amendment for that. So yeah, you're wrong. But that would be a federal charge, not a state charge. So basically, what they're essentially saying is if some state passes an insurrection law, we're not going to care about that. That's got nothing to do with the 14th Amendment. That might affect that individual's ability to, run for public office in your local state, but that's not going to affect the federal election. If, in fact, he had been charged with insurrection under 18 U.S.C. 2383 and convicted, part of the penalty that is associated with that is you can't be president anymore. So there you go. There you go. So it is within the power of a DA. So I don't know what you're complaining about. What are you wanting about? Anna called J6 a riot. She's red-pilled already. There you go. There goes Anna with her Trump sign. She's going to sit there wearing a Trump mugshot T-shirt and everything. She's going to come on the show here on election night. She's going to be like, let's go, Trump. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate your support, brother. And Purple AJ. Hitting. 5 new members. 5 new members. The 5 members who came in to this new status are Tuzret, gifted by Purple AJ. And Nico, gifted by Purple AJ. D-Sign, gifted a membership by Purple AJ. Brinder Rain, gifted a membership. And John O, gifted a membership. All of you owe you eternal gratitude to Purple AJ. Thank you, my brother, for helping bring these people into the fold. Much obliged for that. Definitely appreciate that. Drop Barracuda says that's just bad math. It puts you in the 1%. That was bad math. I was like, wait, I would need like 950 members to hit 1%, which I don't think I've got that. Don't have that. No, not quite yet. Bianca came to YouTube. Good for you, Bianca. Welcome aboard. Welcome to the following. The following is not at all a cult type of cult. And please feel free to grab yourself a coffee, and we have cookies.
Tony Barrett joined the liberal justices in a dissent on that part. So it's unanimous overall that Trump can stay on the ballot. But as far as how far-reaching this decision is, Barrett joined the others in saying, whoa, no. What do you mean that only Congress can decide this? What if Congress is deadlocked on partisan issues having nothing to do with it, whether an insurrection happened or not?
Oh.
So, and it also creates the issue of states then not being able to regulate their own elections at the state level, okay, on this issue particularly. Now, there's one more twist.
He seems a little confused. He definitely doesn't know anything about 18 U.S.C. 2383, even though it came up a lot in the context of this particular case. You would think by now he should know. He's been screaming for charges of insurrection for a long time, and he should recognize. I just want to make sure that there's no confusion about this, so that you will be far more educated than Mr. Cenk Uygur. 18 U.S.C. 2383. Rebellion or insurrection. Here we go. Just so that you're all on the same page here. Whoever incites, sets on foot, assists, or engages in any rebellion or insurrection against the authority of the United States laws thereof, or gives aid or comfort thereto, shall be fined in his title in prison, not more for 10 years or both, and shall be incapable of holding any office under the United States. You don't need to go to the 14th Amendment. Right there. Boom. Incapable. But clearly, he has no knowledge of the existence of this statute. So those of you who follow him might want to alert him to 18 U.S.C. 2383, which is a federal statute. So you wouldn't need Congress to get involved at all. Well, let's get back to you, Mr. Cenk Uygur, and the wonderful insight you're providing your dedicated listeners, whether they're in the 1%, whether they're in your 1% or not. I can't believe he's advocating for people to join the 1%. I mean, that sounds so anti-TYT messaging. What was the whole Occupy Democrats about, not fighting against the 1%?
I want to read you this part of the decision, and then we'll talk about it. They say states may disqualify persons holding or attempting to hold state office. Now they say that, right? But it's not clear if that applies to Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. But definitely not federal office. The states cannot touch federal office. In fact,
Okay, that part you got clear. We got that. We got that.
they say, but states have no power under the Constitution to enforce Section 3 with respect to federal offices, especially the presidency. So it sounds like the states can adjudicate if you went down to January 6th and you were convicted of insurrection and you want to run for mayor, right? Or governor, but they cannot adjudicate it if that same person tries to run for Congress or Senate. But on top of that, what it leaves up,
yeah, okay. I think he ultimately got there. It's almost like I sort of feel as if it's like that last little ball is sort of stuck and he's trying to get it out into the bowl. And he's pushing and pushing and pushing, and finally it's like that little nugget actually just sort of blooped right out into that's essentially what I feel he's giving his audience here. Like, yeah, okay. Yeah, you made it there. You got there eventually. Eventually you got there. So there you go. I'm only using a horse analogy here because I know how fond he is of horses, because my audience made sure I would be well aware of that.
Unclear is, can the states take anyone off a ballot for any constitutional reasons if it's the federal office that they're running for, especially the presidency?
What?
And so they did not direct.
What are you saying now? What? You should have quit while you were ahead, boy. One more time. Give me this.
Clear is, can the states take anyone off a ballot for any constitutional reasons if it's the federal office that they're running for, especially the presidency? And so they did not directly address that, but they left that door open. So and there are other parts of the decision that's even broader in terms of saying the states might not have the power to take people off of federal ballots. So
what? They're interpreting the 14th Amendment. The reason they said this is they looked at Section 5, the 14th Amendment. They said that's power left squarely with Congress. This has nothing to do with anything in the Constitution regarding like elections and things of that nature. It's an Article 5 element. Oh no! Oh no! You're gonna misinform your audience again, aren't you? It's a good thing Dan Goldman isn't here, because he would totally be clamping down and shutting your channel down.
I think that makes sense. So as I was reading about their reasoning and their decision, especially in regard to what states can and can't do, I couldn't help but think about why it's important to protect federal elections from state interference, or interference in deciding whether or not the federal candidates should or should not be considered qualified for the ballots.
By the way, Anna's about to prove to you, those of you misogynists out there, she's about to prove to you that sometimes in interpreting the law and understanding philosophically how the law operates, a woman who is a layperson can sound far more intelligent than a man who has a law degree, that she's about to display here.
I mean, think about the Civil War and what the Civil War was about, right? So would the federal government want to give the states the kind of power to make that type of decision about federal matters or federal elections?
yeah, especially in regards to the 14th Amendment.
See, insight, perspective, thought, philosophy, just sort of general logical reasoning given historical context as to how we should understand this amendment. See, that was thoroughly insightful. Thoroughly insightful. She just said something I've said, I don't know, a half dozen times on this show, and she came to that. I don't suspect that she's watching this show, although she is. That's a pretty sharp woman right there. Pretty sharp job there, Anna. If that's where you're getting your little legal insight, is peeking in on good logic. Wise move on your part. But I don't know that she's done that, which means if she came to this on her own, I say, God bless. Well thought out and completely spot on.
Section 3, I get the logic of that particular, because
now that she walked you through it, you get it, you understand it, you get it, you get it, you understand it.
Think about what Anna's saying. What if South Carolina back then was like, yeah, you say insurrection, I say tomato.
Exactly.
And so these same guys who are part of the Confederacy, I'm going to send up there now. It's a state matter, right? And these are.
No, you're not getting it. You're sort of getting it. You're close to getting it. The point is that they could have rejected someone from the North, right? This analogy as to what you're trying to do today in 2024, if this had been applied in 1870, they could have rejected Ulysses S. Grant, right? They could have said, we don't like this guy. We think he's an insurrectionist. He went to war against half of his countrymen when he marched them down through and marched these troops and killed all sorts of people. That's an insurrectionist, and we're going to take him off the ballot. That doesn't seem to make any sense. Not that we, the South, are going to try to send people up there, and we should have the power to do that. That's exactly what was being stopped. So he sort of almost gets it, but even now, after Anna walked him through it, she's politely being like, yeah, that's exactly right, even though the way he's phrasing it is not at all right.
The justice is going saying it's not a state matter. But one of the things they emphasized, Anna, is that if states make different decisions, and then we got a hodgepodge situation, and this is a total mess.
Yeah.
And so
I know of a Democratic primary candidate who's dealing with that. So some states decide to keep this individual off the ballot. Others decide to keep the individual on the ballot.
We want names. Name names. She named names. Name names. Who's the Democratic candidate who's running for election is being allowed on some ballots and not others? And what's the basis for them keeping them off?
So interesting.
Yeah, so let's take a hypothetical for a future run. Let's say that Arnold Schwarzenegger wanted to run next election cycle.
Well, God help us, no.
Right? And he's a naturalized citizen.
That's not legal.
He could easily take this case, and it's not a slam dunk, but it moves the ball forward for sure. And take this case and go, well, you guys just said that the states can't decide who can run and who can't.
No, 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 no. No, God, you simpleton. You simp. Oh my gosh, you ignorant buffoon. You poor, helpless brainchild. What is wrong with you? This has nothing to do with the other the main three qualifications of 35 years of age, born a citizen, and living in this country for 14 years. Nothing to do with that at all. This is because the Supreme Court was specifically talking about with respect to invoking Article 3 of the 14th Amendment, because that is governed by Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, because that is governed by Section 5 of the 14th Amendment, and only Congress has that power. All the other prerequisites, not related. So if Obama decides, if Barack decides to say, hey, I'm going to come out as the guy who's running all this stuff here in 2028, I'm going to try to have a third election here, every state has the individual right to say, go GFY, because you can't run for a third term. So it's not like states would somehow have power. I don't even know what the hell now he's interpreting it as, that some states would have a power. This is moving the ball in that direction. If it did apply to that, it would be moving the ball in the opposite direction, saying states don't have that. Oh my God, this is just legal incompetence. Legal incompetence. You're making the world a dumber place, Cenk. You're making the world a dumber place. It's dumb enough already. You're just making people dumber. You're just making people dumber. I'm trying to be kind here because I've been enjoying some of your work recently. I've been enjoying, I'm sharing my audience here. I've been enjoying your work, and you're literally making people stupider. This is just bad.
That doesn't mean that he wins. The Supreme Court still has to decide whether he can serve, but that would back up the Federal Election Commission that said naturalized citizens can run and basically shouldn't be taken off the ballot. So a lot of the state yahoos that make these decisions, they don't know anything about constitutional law.
Nor do you. You could be running, you could be sitting there on some FEC board. You don't know what the heck you're talking about. You have no idea what you're talking about. Oh my God.
Like, super interesting, and it's true.
Yeah, and they're like,
no, it's not true. He made you dumber, Anna. you need to move you need to move your chair like another 3 feet further away from him because you're getting infected by his stupidity.
I don't know. I heard in 8th grade that you shouldn't be on the ballot, so I'm going to take you off. And this is the Supreme Court beginning to say, no, you don't know constitutional law, and that's not your role.
No, you don't know constitutional law, and it's not your role. You're a lawyer. You got a layperson. The layperson woman sitting next to you tried walking you up to like actual, like genuine inspired thought. And you took it, twisted it into completely like ridiculous direction and got it backwards and started applying that backward perspective in ways that have nothing to do with this decision and said, this is what the decision tells me. Oh my God. Oh my God. Just get to Keith Olbermann. You'll do better there.
Okay, put him on the ballot and leave it up to us.
Now, with that said, let's go to Blue MAGA.
There you go. There you go. Let's get to Blue MAGA. Blue MAGA. maybe does Blue MAGA dine on blue waffles? Is that why they're called Blue MAGA? Why are they called Blue MAGA? Walk us through it.
The ambassador of Blue MAGA, the top ambassador, is a man by the name of Keith Olbermann, who, believe it or not, at one time was a renowned cable news.
Nobody knows. Apparently, I assume they're all a bunch of woke ideologues. Probably most of them are Native Americans, and they sit there having their tribal meetings going, I don't know. Maybe that's Blue MAGA. I'm thinking about how do I join Blue MAGA? How do I join Blue MAGA? Become a card-carrying member of Blue MAGA. I love MAGA so much, I'm going to be like, Jimmy Dore is not Blue MAGA. No, when they're saying Blue MAGA, I think they mean Blue Anon. I think that's what they mean. I think they're using MAGA as being crazy extremists. So they're referring to their own crazy extremists. That's all jokes aside. All jokes aside, that is how I think they're using the term Blue MAGA. If you're wondering what the hell they're talking about, that's the best I can figure from it. So Blue MAGA, like, this guy's home. So there you go. How you doing, E-Man? How you doing, bro?
Host and now likes to embarrass himself on a regular basis on Twitter. So he posted, following the Supreme Court's unanimous decision, the Supreme Court has betrayed democracy. Its members, including Jackson, meaning Ketanji Brown Jackson, Kagan and Sotomayor, have proved themselves inept at reading comprehension. And collectively, the court has shown itself to be corrupt and illegitimate. It must be dissolved. So there you have Keith Olbermann arguing that a major part of our system of checks and balances should absolutely be dissolved because they had a unanimous decision that he didn't like.
I'm gonna take my balls and go home. I'm not playing with y'all no more.
Insanity.
Yeah, so I think he's lost his mind.
Totally.
So a couple.
I love the left calling out the left for losing its mind. There we go. I need to see Keith Olbermann's response to this.
Couple of things here. Number one.
No, sir, you lost your mind. It would be epic.
One, can't they read? Well, wait a minute now. Constitutional law is very complicated. And
trust me, he knows it's complicated. The struggle's real with Cenk.
I could personally attest to the word equal being very much in dispute. Even though it seems like a crystal clear word, it is one that has taken thousands and thousands of pages of Supreme Court decisions to adjudicate what the word
how is that relevant to this?
Equal means. So
really? That's the word you choose? That's the one? I guess it means like equal protection. Okay.
So for Olbermann to do sophistry and be like, oh, they can't read, they should be dissolved. That's childish. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, his main case is you got to vote against Trump because the democracy's on the line. And now he's saying, let's dissolve one of the branches of our government. It's a totally indefensible, just moronic. And when you're attacking the liberal justices, look, if there was a
Dano says, majority gold sneaker owners, Blue MAGA, they love their kicks. That's cute.
In politics case or other cases where they said something egregious, okay, and I have that conversation. But in this case, they were unanimous for a reason, because no one adjudicated Trump to be an insurrectionist other than random Democrats and 2 or 3.
This has nothing to do with the decision. They literally never even mention insurrection. Like, you can read through it. I mean, aside from them, listing off what the attributes of Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, they never talk about the failure to adjudicate or anything of that. They do talk about the fact that there could be different determinations, but they never talk about whether or not God, Lord, you're so bad at this. You're so bad at this, Cenk.
States. That's not how the process works. That's not how the process should work. But guys like Oberman, who are blue MAGA, have lost their minds. That's why you call them blue MAGA, right? Red MAGA thinks Trump won the 2020 election, et cetera. So they lost their minds in that way. It did.
Oh, you see, I was right. I didn't even get to this part of the clip when I was watching it before. You see, I was right. He just thinks it's like someone I think is crazy. Is basically either on the blue side or the red side. So that's why he equates the word MAGA with crazy, I guess, because he's not completely unhinged.
Detached from objective reality, and blue MAGA is just as detached. The other thing that Oberman is always crying about is, don't believe numbers. Numbers are lies. Only believe my emotions, right? And that is not a rational way to think. And
I don't know what he's talking about.
It's become a buffoon, really.
Right, and the numbers.
Saying that, oh yeah.
Cenk Uygur referring to someone else as a buffoon. This is great. And not to say that he's wrong about Oberman. Oberman is definitely a buffoon. But it's like I guess he managed to find someone who's like more oafish. So he's like basking in that.
No polling matters. There's no such thing as science when it comes to polling. The data sucks. Numbers are for losers.
I have seen it.
Right?
I have seen him. He's crazy. I was actually thinking as I was watching this, I should probably air some of his clips because he's hilarious. He's hilarious. So I have. Let me get a couple of these others that popped out here. Rana, new member. Welcome to the following. Rana, welcome to the following. Allegan News says, why does everyone say Congress does not address 14th Amendment yet? They passed insurrection law 2383, believe was passed in 1948. Yeah, and that's when they got rid of all the other laws relating to the Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. So they abolished those. State control under Article 2, Section 1 electors. Yep. When media quotes pro-Hamas stuff uncritically, Cenk's cool with that. Oh yeah, he's totally a buffoon. He's a complete buffoon. Congress can give state power under Section 5. I don't think that would ever pass. In theory, but I don't think that would ever make it through any level in Congress. Jack Baruth, a car riding colleague, check him out, says journalists will do the wobble now and then. They go against the flow just to appear honest. I don't think that's what we've seen from Anna, because she's been wobbling a lot. She's been wobbling a lot in ways that are unnecessary. She wobbles a lot more than any other journalist on the left. Constitutional law is actually simple. Read shortest law in books. Try reading modern bills. Yeah, I agree. It's not quite that complicated. It's interesting because so much of it is because it's so broad and then it gets so many interpretations. This necessarily has to be broad though, but yeah.
Right?
Totally. I mean, look, I totally understand that commentary when you're dealing with one standout poll, but the results that are pretty damning for Biden in the general have been replicated in poll after poll after poll. At some point, you have to maybe accept reality. And that's part of the problem, Cenk. We have a growing group of people on both sides who just do not want to accept reality. And that makes everything so much more difficult. And what drives me insane is that the media has become super partisan. So you either watch left-wing media or right-wing media, and audiences have become so accustomed to hearing one ideological side that once they get any information that
well, now you see, I give both sides. I'm giving the other side right here. I'm giving the other side right here. That's what I try to do. I try to give both sides.
Spells preconceived notions, they don't react well to it. And I think that's part of the problem. And so we obviously have our own political views and our own political, preferences.
But the facts are the facts, and we're not going to hide that from you, even if it's uncomfortable to know what's really going on in the country.
Yeah,
Wait, he's not naturalized. He's not. He's not a natural born citizen. He's an immigrant. Really? That's pretty funny. Thank you. Is that really true? He was. Now I gotta check that out. Oh man, I don't want to research here. Cenk Uygur. He's a Turkish-born American politician, political commentator. Oh, he was in the 2024 Democratic presidential primary despite not being a natural-born U.S. citizen. So that's who Anna was referring to, or Cenk? That's who she was referring to? That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. I didn't realize that. Thank you for sharing that with me. You're correct. You are correct. Correcto mundo. I learn something new every day.
it's not that hard. I mean, Oberman was nominally in news before. I mean, so I guess at MSNBC he was mainly doing propaganda for Democrats, and now he's just mask off on it. But so I hate Donald Trump. I probably dislike Donald Trump more than Keith Olbermann does.
I don't think that's really true. I think you're exaggerating that. I think deep in your heart, there's a little bit of MAGA inside of you. There's a little bit of MAGA inside of you. It's been bucking inside of you. You're just feeling it deep inside. A little bit of MAGA growing inside Cenk Uygur. Growing. He masks it all the time with all his claims about how he hates Trump. I hate Trump. I hate Trump. I hate Trump more than anyone. Methinks he doth protest. Methinks the lady doth protest too much. I think that Cenk actually really likes Donald Trump. It's his way of like pulling Donald's hair. Notice me, recognize me, love me. I think that's what it really is. I don't think he really hates Donald Trump. I think he actually really likes it. And more than likes, respects. Deep respect for Donald Trump. That's pretty much all I can take from his messaging so far. I mean, look how he keeps defending him. You know, I hate him. He's right all the time. I hate him. He's always right. I hate him. It's gross how he's always right. I can't stand him. Yeah, come on. This is like, it's pretty transparent. I'm not telling you anything you haven't already noticed for yourselves. The questions you haven't asked yourself already. Why does he have to keep saying how much he hates him, if not for the fact that he doesn't?
That doesn't mean I'm going to lie to you and tell you that he's losing when he isn't.
See how excited he is that Trump's winning? See how excited he is?
Every poll shows him up by 4 or 5.
Every poll. There you go. It drives Cenk's poll up every time he sees these polls.
And the Democratic candidate has to win by 4 or 5 in order to win the Electoral College. And I'm super curious what these blue MAGA delusional types are going to do when Biden loses. And at this point, if the election were held today, he'd get landslided. He would lose every swing state. So,
and probably a few more besides that. All of a sudden, states will start becoming swing states.
Right now, if you tell the Obermans of the world, they'll say, no, Nate Silver's lying, Cenk Uygur is lying. And Keith Olbermann literally did that on a podcast last week. Ezra Klein is lying, Bill Maher is lying.
Do you guys want to watch? I need to ask you. I'm gonna put a quick poll out here for y'all. Quick poll for y'all, asking you whether you want me to find some Olbermann stuff to watch. That's right. I wonder if he'll strike me. I don't know. I wouldn't do this tonight. It would be in the future. Make that clear. People walking late.
And he put me in that group, right?
Hilarious.
They're all lying. They're all the numbers are lying, right? You look so deranged and desperate. So what happens when that desperation and emotional, instability runs into the fact that Biden lost, right, in 2024? If that's what happens, I mean, 222. I don't want Trump to win, but if that happens,
What's 222? What is that? What is that? What is that? What was 222? Is that like some Christian thing? I never heard that. I need to hear that again. What was that?
if that's what happens, I mean, 222. I don't want Trump to win.
What does that mean, 222? The reason I'm asking that question, I'm going to share with you something. This is, I've never seen that before. He's spitting on his, what? Choo, 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 room 222. He's spitting on his goat. Is that foreplay? Why would you spit on a goat? I don't understand why anyone would spit on a goat. Why would that happen? Why would someone do that? 222. Is that a thing? Oh, is it 222? From what? The mark of the chink? It's a I don't know what that. What is that? What is that? What is that? I don't understand anything that's happening here. No, the reason okay, let me explain something to you. Okay, I want to explain. I gotta just pause and tell you a little bit about Jewish culture that doesn't come up very often in mixed company. Okay, in mixed company, a little bit about Jewish culture, and this is something I never heard before I got married. So there is a thing that Jews will say, Orthodox Jews will say to each other if they talk about something good happening, and they're worried about bringing an evil eye of like a bad wish upon it. So they'll say, they'll talk about someone getting a promotion, and they'll throw out a phrase, the phrase they'll say in Hebrew is "Bali ayin hara," which means there should be no ayin hara. Bali means there should be no, absent an ayin hara. Ayin hara is like an evil eye, meaning that if you sort of like talk about good things happening, then it's almost like you're inviting scrutiny as to whether or not you merit that good thing to happen. And the upshot of it will be that, God forbid, it won't come to pass. So you'll say, B'li ayin hara. My wife's family and many other Jews, and I never come across this until I got married, they would say, B'li ayin hara, poo, poo, poo. And I'm like, poo, poo, poo. What is that? What is poo, poo, poo? I don't know what that is. And I'm wondering if it's got some relationship to the 222. And they're like, everyone knows you say poo, poo, poo. And I'm like, that's not Jewish. That's not any, I don't know what that is. I never heard of poo, poo, poo. What is poo, poo? That doesn't make any sense. I don't understand it. So B'li ayin hara, yeah, I heard that all the time. Every Ortho Jew knows B'li ayin hara. Okay, that's just something we say. That's just okay. That's just part of the culture. Is what we say. Okay, fine. Just sort of throw it out there. No one thinks twice about it. Poo, poo, poo. To me, that was totally new. I was like, I never heard that. But now I'm hearing someone who I assume is not a practicing Orthodox Jew saying something very, very close to that in that type of scenario. Although he's saying the opposite. Like, I'm afraid that I'm wishing good happening on someone. So that's why he's saying he's knocking on wood, which that sounds to be like a Christian thing, like knock on wood, which is what you say. Knock on wood is essentially the same thing that you guys, when we say B'li ayin hara, that's in context where you would say knock on wood. Where you're basically, when the purpose of knocking on wood, from what I understand, is like saying knock on the cross, like it's asking God for help to that, what you consider to be your format of asking God for help. So that's why I think you say knock on wood, and that's where we would say B'li ayin hara, my wife and her family would say poo, poo, poo. He's saying in the opposite way that it shouldn't happen 222. I'm just fascinated by the cultural difference here. That's definitely something he was instinctively saying with that. I don't think he realized he said it. And I'm not, you see, And I'm not upset about it. I'm just fascinated by the cultural distinction here and what the origin of that is. You're saying it's considered lucky. I know so that's what. So maybe some Muslims in the chat can tell me what the hell that is. I don't know. All right.
But if that happens, are they going to go full MAGA? Are they going to be like, no, they stole the election. No, we don't accept it. Stop the steal. Continue the steal. No, we don't accept it. There's mules. There's 2,000 mules.
I don't know.
It's starting to sound like 2,000 mule territory.
It is interesting that like once you expand your mind and accept that there are people on the Democratic side who behave similarly to, the hardcore MAGA types who also refuse to accept reality, you kind of see the world for what it really is, right? There is no good side, bad side, people who accept reality and people who don't, meaning Democrats do and Republicans don't. You have a faction in both parties who have just completely lost their minds.
Yeah, and then we see all this different evidence that, in fact, there were crazy numbers of votes that came in and all other things that, and the fact that things were not actually vetted. And then we see here about all these FBI agents who are basically lying to the public in order to cover up for the Biden thing. And then we see all this stuff about how there's just these massive printings going on in Michigan. So yeah, not so much. It's not so crazy. Quite the contrary. It actually is more logical considering that 19 out of 20 bellwether counties all seem to fall out against Biden, and yet mysteriously that didn't play out in 2020. So, yeah, not really quite as crazy as you're making it out to be. Quite the contrary. I think the notion that it was a fair election sounds a little crazy.
And it is concerning.
And look, blue MAGA has a longer history than red MAGA.
So I don't like being glommed together with what they're calling blue MAGA, because now they're just using the term MAGA to mean like someone irrational, which is pretty stupid. It's pretty childish take.
If we're being honest, and it's not as deep, right? Red MAGA wound up in La La Land, right? Just totally detached from facts. A bunch of them thinking Trump was still president or was going to be reinstated. These things are just off this planet, right? But blue MAGA has been insisting that Democrats who take millions of dollars in corporate donations don't get affected by that money at all, that they're angels. And that their ideology and how much they care to do the right thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Overwhelm.
The way they're using blue MAGA, there's no such thing. I'm using that as just a slur against MAGA.
The fact that they're getting millions of dollars in political contributions, and their voting record is identical to what their donors want. But they're like, no, that is a wild, wild coincidence. We never really explore that enough in mainstream media for sure. They never ever talk about that, right? But that is a lunatic position. And it's held by a lot of Democrats.
Well,
the one thing I'll give the Republicans credit for is that they have let go of that lunatic position. Now, if you ask most Republicans, do your Republican politicians who take millions of dollars, are they honest people who are just doing it based on ideology? I think most Republican voters say no, they're crooks. And they're taking the donation money, and some of them are on our side, but a lot of them are uniparty, not on our side.
Oh, you see, he's actually starting to wake up to where we're coming from. There you go.
That is actually closer to reality.
Thank you. Closer. At least I'm closer to reality. I'm one of the closer to reality folks. Yeah, they are just realizing in 2024. So there you go. I think that was an enlightening perspective of TYT. Let me see my polls out. I'm very curious whether you guys want me to check in on Olbermann from time to time. The last thing I want to cover, you guys saying 70% of you saying you want me to watch some Olbermann. All right, I definitely can do that. I think it can be fun. I think it's a good call. Last thing I'm going to do before I get out of here is I just want you to realize just how deranged AOC is, because I haven't really checked in on AOC in a long time. So, and people were starting to speculate that maybe she was getting a little bit more normal. No. So here's the last clip. We're gonna go a 6-minute interview, which is from like a week ago here, where she was on with MSNBC. Now, maybe when people go on MSNBC, they feel there's an added need to heighten the level of crazy perspective that they're sharing. So maybe that's the excuse she would use as to some of the wacky perspectives that AOC drops here. But check this out.
Tonight in Kentucky are voting to roll back child labor laws, calling it a thoughtful solution to get more workers back in the workforce. At the same time, they're blocking immigration reform that could give adult migrants the opportunity to fill those vacant jobs, many of them in dangerous industries. We're back with Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Before I get to this, I missed these. Cenk made bank during Trump's term. He has to play to anti-Trump audience, though, even though he probably likes and respects Trump when cameras are off, in my honest opinion. Oh, I think it's definitely possibly true. Are you sure he wasn't saying true, true, true? I don't think he was saying that. That's not what I heard. I didn't hear that at all. A non-hamster says, Joe Neiman, did you watch PBD with Candace Owens and Cuomo? It was a good watch. You should check it out. Oh, okay. Oh. Never really didn't stumble on that. Never stumbled on that. All right. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything here. Okay, I got this here. And let's go forward.
Democrat from the great state, our state of New York. It's great to see you. Thank you for staying extra long on Friday night. I wonder what you think the sort of ethical, moral calculation here is to say, shut the borders down, as these Republicans fully and well know they need a workforce, probably of migrants, to work in these really degrading, dehumanizing, dangerous jobs in places like slaughterhouses.
What? What are you talking about? I don't even know what she's talking about.
And would rather have children that are already in the country work them.
What? What are you talking about?
I mean, there is no ethical or moral calculation here that I think Republicans are working with. Putting the
words, hard, struggle, real, forming, thought, brain, hurting.
First and foremost, the amount of protections that they heap on to these places that are so dangerous, themselves operating so unethically.
The amount of protections they heap on are so dangerous, heaping on these are not sentences.
And making them so dangerous for any human.
She's still dumb.
Adult or child to be operating in. But the idea.
So when you say heaping on, you mean taking away. That's what you mean. You just don't, words are hard.
That Republicans, in order to win an election, say we need to hermetically seal the border when they know that that is economic self-sabotage to the U.S. economy. And they are saying, let's do it anyway. And to compensate.
No. Economic sabotage? We brought in 15 million illegals, and you tell me it's economic sabotage? Say, shut the border? Really? Good God, is there no end? I guess legal immigration, that's not enough either. What the hell are you talking about?
For the negative effects, we're going to allow and throw people's kids into factories.
Literally gaslighting. She has absolutely no idea what the hell she's talking about. So I'm just going to make up facts that sound consistent with Democratic speaking points.
That is what they are doing in rolling back.
She hasn't reached the peak levels crazy in this interview. Not quite crescendoing yet. She's still rising in her peak to a nice crescendo of crazy.
Child labor laws while being as xenophobic and
oh yes, and xenophobic, racist, misogynist, anti-hating kids and gays and Jews and everyone, right? That's what this is all about. Jackass, liar. Her pants are just burning there. I don't know how they're not like bursting into flames from under. You probably could see like orange glow from her pants being on fire.
Immigrant as they are, and while ginning up this false narrative.
This is a United States member of the House. And listen to the ignorance spewing out of her mouth.
About this being a crisis. And by the way, by then also preventing and blocking any legislation that would provide not just a path to citizenship, but a path to work papers.
Path to citizenship? Why the hell are we giving paths to citizenship to people who break the law to get in here? Why are you not removing them?
a path to allowing people who want to work to be paired with American businesses who
you're a terrible
need
human being.
people to work. And I mean, there is not only no moral calculation, there is no economic calculation.
There's no calculation in your brain. There's nothing that's happening in your brain. It's almost like the fires are burning red hot and there's no heat being generated. You're a miracle. You Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, are a miracle of science. I don't understand. It's not even like she's neither walking nor chewing gum. You would think this would be ideal conditions for her to be able to formulate thought.
There is no logical calculation. There is only a political calculation. And that political calculation is we are going to keep whining about it.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to keep pretending this is a crisis while
pretending it's a crisis? Pretending it's a crisis?
contributing to actual problems, and then we're going to block the solution.
No, it's not a solution. The solution is to embed illegal immigration in our society forever.
So that we can campaign on it over and over and over. And we can call it caravans. We can call it migrant crisis.
She's the enemy of the American people. This is her. This is the young face of the enemy of the American people.
We can call it family separation, and they will just recycle it over and over and over again in order to gin up, just so much animosity and destruction in this country and racism in this country, because that's the only thing that the Republican Party even is standing on at this point.
You say it's a political calculation. I think that part is clear, but at the same time, it's like, if you told me that they're trying to weaken child labor laws on its face as a headline, that should not be politically expeditious. The reason they've managed to be able to do it is because nobody's talking.
That's what they put on the headline.
About migrants anymore. Nobody's talking about the value of migrants, and that includes Democrats.
The value of migrants.
I mean, are you dismayed that this White House it acknowledges or it believes that it has a political problem on the border?
This is how insane MSNBC is. They don't think there's a migrant crisis,
and it is playing decidedly on sort of the Republican turf here in terms of what it's.
These are these liberal elitists. They just all it's going to take is them to get mugged once.
What it's agreed to, the executive orders that have been sort of reported on thus far, are you dismayed by that and the sort of contours of this conversation?
I am dismayed, and I'm.
So I'm going to set you up with a question that I'm expecting you to say yes to, because basically try to sculpt your perspective on this, because clearly your mind is made out of clay. So I'm going to try and tell you where I want you to go with this. And then I'm going to say, aren't you dismayed? So this way you'll say yes to that question, give you a nice, healthy leading question there. And you can basically feed into here this entire narrative that we're trying to pitch out there, that this infusion, this mass of millions of people that we have no idea who they are, where they're going, what's going to happen with them, where they're going to live, the abuses that are happening, people coming across the border, the fentanyl crisis, all this other stuff. This is a blessing for America. Are you dismayed that they're not calling it a blessing?
Very often find myself in shock
Shock.
At our current political
situation.
Not just, I'm rarely in shock at the depravity of the Republicans.
Oh, of course, the depravity of the Republicans, depravity.
But sometimes, and this is long what I've been saying, sometimes we as Democrats have to grow a little bit of a spine around here. And part of that means defending immigration as a core value of the United States of America.
Jackass. Legal immigration, no one's arguing with. Jackass. It's like she's working. She's got this 100-watt brain working with like a 6-watt light bulb.
Yes, on a moral and on an identity basis, but on a nuts and bolts basis.
On a nuts basis, I get where you're coming from. On a nuts basis, 100%, I get where you're coming from.
The United States, our culture, our population, our economy needs immigration like lungs need oxygen.
Oh, for the love of God. Legal immigration, yes. When it's illegal immigration, there's no benefit to that.
And when you cut it off, we will start to die.
You're an idiot.
When you look at other developed economies.
This is how we end up getting Sotomayor. Because this type of perspective of the world is actually like, this is thought.
that have adopted xenophobic or more closed border policies, they enter into decades of economic stagnation.
You have no idea what the hell you're talking about. Economic stagnation because you're not allowing illegal people to stream across your border? Really? That's your philosophy? This is the Sherlock here, who's basically explaining to us how we can avoid economic stagnation is by basically letting people just flow across the border without having any idea who or how many. That's how you avoid economic stagnation.
You don't need to look far for that to happen.
No, you do need to look far for that to happen. Which country entered economic stagnation by closing the borders? Give me one example, because I gotta look pretty far to find one. Give me one. Give me one. Is China in economic stagnation because no one's fleeing there? Why are they not in economic stagnation? What the hell are you talking about? There's no historical basis for this. There's no logical basis for this. No, nothing. It's just she's literally just throwing words out and has no idea what the hell she's saying.
We do not have to be afraid to say immigration is one of the best things to happen to the United States of America. And
it's not immigration. It's illegal aliens flooding our borders. That's not immigration. That is an invasion.
What we need to do is champion policies to make it easier to be documented, to get a work permit. And a lot of folks think there's a line to get into this country. Maybe we should make one that works.
We should make one that works. We have 1 million legal people coming in here every year. Name another country that's done that. Ever. We've had that for like the last century. 1 million people coming in every year. So I think that's working. What's not working is closing our border, and that's because you and the people you support refuse to close it for reasons that you actually stupidly believe benefit America, despite the clear and irrefutable evidence that is disastrous for our country.
Because without that, it's just we see the inhumanity.
Yeah.
You're a hot mess. You're a hot mess
of a dysfunctional system. And so instead of buying into this Republican rhetoric, because what's happening is that we're pouring dollar after dollar, cycle after cycle into an increasingly militarized border with no real solution here. And now one of the largest law enforcement agencies in the entire United States of America sits under the Department of Homeland Security. But how much better off are we today than we were 5 years ago?
Because you're not actually working. Because your stupid policies are not actually are to like ignore American law. Idiot.
Despite having passed billions and billions and billions more dollars going into this and buckling on this over and over again. We need a path to citizenship in the United States of America. We need to make it easier to have work.
So stupid. It's so stupid. And the fact that she has so much money in her war chest. This is just, my God. My God. What a disaster she is.
Permits in the United States of America. And we need to be unafraid to unapologetically defend immigration and make it easier to be an immigrant and to migrate to the United States of America, because God knows we need it.
God knows if you snorted cocaine, you almost certainly would spit out far more intelligent perspectives than what you just gave in this interview, because this is just mind-blowing idiocy. There's no border crisis. We need to have more legal immigration. Wow. Just somehow, those of you who thought she was actually getting better, no. The disease has gone far beyond her brain into now it's basically affecting just her unconscious bodily functions. She's actually like breathing and like her body is like systemically. It's like she breeds stupidity, breeds it. She doesn't have to reproduce internally in her own body. She's just like, there's more stupidity. It's like whatever level of stupidity was being cogitated by her brain before is just spreading, so that now it's like all the way down to like, I don't know. It's past her hips, that's for sure. What we got here? Let me wrap this up. Can I wrap this up now? We got this already. Who is the you speak of? Knock on wood actually comes from the druids asking tree sprites for help. I was unaware of your druid audience. Is that really true? No, it's not. No, it's not. Origin of knock on wood. Really? Celts? Who worship myths? I was sure it was Christian. Wow. My mistake. Dag nabbit. I was positive that was like knocking on the cross. Son of a gun. Son of a gun. Well, that's learning something new. Thank you, Adrian. Hey, let's see, it's adorable in a society destroying kind of way. Yeah, you can't fix her. 222 is Armenian protection. Anna is Armenian. Is that what it is? I don't know. Maybe. If it were 15 million Polish or Jewish people coming across the borders, she would be freaking out. Yes. Yes, this is true. I hope whoever runs against her plays this over and over. This is overrun with newcomers. She is such a war chest and such a nationally known figure. It's hard to even imagine her losing anytime. Anytime. She's so entrenched in Congress right now. I can't even fathom that someone would come close to beating her. It would be like near miraculous. She would literally have to be caught on tape saying something like really, really, really egregious. And when I say really egregious, like something like just, taking broad, she would have to be like legally removed. She's telling you, New Yorkers, I know enough about New Yorkers to tell you, the New Yorkers love her. They do. As destructive, self-destructive as she is from New York. They do. They're that stupid. As you can drink a Slurpee fast and anyone with zero issues. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means, Cash. I'm not sure what's with the new logo, the 15 cue ball, the 15 billiard ball. I don't understand. What is that? I don't get it. Good to see you, brother. All right. That is my show for tonight. 2.5 hours logged in the books. I thank you all for joining, my friends. I hope you had an enjoyable time. I know I sure as heck had a great time here. You guys were wonderful to me. So kind, so courteous, so nice, so polite. I'm going to do a little roundup here. Make sure I didn't miss anyone on Rumble. I think we're good over there. We are good on there. Rumble was pretty active tonight. My little ghetto there. And do a double check over here on locals. We're good over here too. And Ben SC said, Cheng says, MAGA, make America giddy up again. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right. I thank you all for joining me. If you check out goodlogic.locals.com, I will provide all my source material over there. That's actually for supporters. If you're not yet a supporter over there and you can't afford it, I will hook you up. Just hit me up and I'll take care of you. I'm happy to do it. I far prefer it. Make our society grow. Make it grow. Until that happens, until tomorrow, I thank you for joining me. Hope that tomorrow, Monday, is the start of a phenomenal week for y'all. I'm going to tell you that no matter what, stay happy. That means no matter what you do not eat the bugs. And as always, my friends, I say to you, good night and Godspeed.